Lu Qingyu's goal 4. Lu Qingyu shuddered at the conditions laid before herself. Despite the dread she felt inside, this woman also knew it's too late to turn back now. After all, if she could promise to become someone's slave already, what does it matter if an extra poison was added to the equation? Stealing her nerves, she pops the poison into her mouth with resolve. I've taken the poison now, does that mean I can leave? Your subordinates are still in my place. Do you not intend to take them with you? Bai Yin asks with a hint of melodramatic effect, like she's shocked by the way Lu Qingyu was abandoning her own people. On the other hand, the now slave didn't care about the taunting ridicule. Compared with Bai Yan's strength and intimidation, she's more afraid of that peerless and domineering demon king. But thinking back to Uncle June, who's still risking his own life for herself, Lu Qingyu at least had some sense of humanity left in her. Fine, I'll go back with you first. Unfortunately, that attitude didn't sit well with Bai Yin in the least. Is this the tone a servant should be using against their mistress? The slave wanted to lash out from rage right there and then. However, upon thinking back to her own life, she subsided. Mistress, I am wrong. But instead of getting an affirmative answer in return, Bai Yin only stabs her bony quill down onto the earth. This should have been an unimportant gesture, yet the impacting force alone actually shook the entire mountain range, and causes Lu Qingyu to stumble backwards in great fright. How can this woman be so temperamental? Inhaling deeply, she bites the apple and yields. Mistress, I will never dare again. Retracting her weapon, Bai Yin seems to be appeased at least for now. Lu Qingyu, don't think you will be able to escape from my control one day. This poison is my own creation. Aside from me, no one knows how to develop the antidote. If you try anything or go against my orders, I believe I don't need to go into details on what's to come. Due to the threatening tone in the voice, her words actually earned a shudder from the other side. Truth was, this woman from the spirit realm was also a talented alchemist in her own right. Unfortunately, the poison was so amazing that she couldn't detect it in the slightest when ingesting the pill, indicating how formidable the recipe must be to be able to bypass her senses. Mistress, I would never dare to have alternative thoughts. The very fact that she has survived to this day in the spirit realm, without others managing to kill her, showed Lu Qingyu wasn't a brash person. Sure, the future may look grim for now, but that doesn't mean there's no hope still. Then let's go. Leaving only that behind herself, Bai Yin swiftly transforms into a flash of light, and shot towards the main estate again. As hesitant and unwilling as this newfound slave was, Lu Qingyu could only follow from behind after watching that gradually disappearing light. Her speed may not be as fast, but it doesn't change the part she's now a lowly dog that must go where commanded. Inside the main estate, the guests are currently dead silent, as they watched nervously at the lax-looking man, sitting atop of the huge chair that's normally reserved for the master of the house. Despite the dominating and arrogant air this individual portrayed, he's extremely seductive in the eyes of the female body, to the point where some are actively drooling inwardly, wishing so dearly they could go up and start up a conversation. Well, that was assuming if there wasn't already an old senior lying underneath the man's feet, like a defeated rag doll. Uncle June at this moment was doing absolutely terrible. There's a constant stream of blood coming out of his mouth, and the only thing this poor grandpa could think of was whether or not the lady managed to return to the spirit realm or not. Suddenly, a striking red light charges through the doorway and catches their attention. When the defeated old senior saw who it was through the corner of his eye, he despaired. If this woman is back, then does that mean the lady? Mother. Bai Xiachen didn't wait, and threw himself into those arms after recognizing who it was. Lu Qingyu's goal 5. The boy's body was soft to the touch and fragrant to the nose, leaving Bai Yan's heart all calm and warm to the bone. Towards his son and wife's intimate contact, Deet Song immediately dumped whatever he was doing to the captive and rushed over to toss the little steam bun aside. He's a big sour pot to anyone who gets too close to his woman. That includes his own flesh and blood. How did it go, Yin Yin? The Demon King's smile was superb as soon as he turned to his wife, despite how dark he looked just 1 second ago. But before Bai Yin could answer the question, Lu Qingyu's presence has also arrived on scene through the doorway. "Miss, are you alright?" Uncle Jun was the only one showing joy at this new entry. Then just when this old man wanted to struggle up again to run to her side, bam! Only a flick of his finger. That's all Ditsong needed to do to force the other person back down to the floor. It's merely a gesture, but the force involved would have killed any ordinary human. Even so, Uncle Jun's complexion was a horrible white after getting hit in the heel with that blow. He's sweating balls right now due to the pain. "When did I say you can get back up?" Ditsong's voice was overbearing and arrogant with a tinge of smugness, as well since he's able to show off before his wife. No matter though, Uncle Jun may not be able to move at this moment due to the threat and pain. But he only wanted to confirm the lady's safety, that's all. With his strength, this senior was more than capable of making an assessment using his eyes only. On the other hand, Lu Qingyu had wanted to rush over to help the old grandpa, after seeing the terrible state he was in. Unfortunately, her status now was a slave, and that meant she's in no position to decide what to do. In the end, this once proud woman of the spirit realm could only timidly look over to her mistress for permission first. "Grandfather, grandmother, holy lord, could you get a list of statistics for all the people killed by the Wu family's attack? We will have Lu Qingyu go in person to plead for forgiveness from all of them." It didn't matter if the lady didn't specifically order the murdering of the three powers. They're her subordinate. That means it's almost a definite she would know of their virtues. Ignoring was the same as indirectly allowing. What's more, Bai Yin herself couldn't say for certain she would have come out on top today if Ditsong wasn't around. So whether it be personal or business-wise, she has no reason to be lenient on this Lu Qingyu regardless of her submitting. In that instant, all eyes were gathered on the mentioned slave, their faces showing a stunned and surprised look. What does she mean by that? Have this woman go ask for forgiveness? Why would she do as ordered? Impudent. Uncle Jun grew furious at the notion. Who do you think her ladyship is? How dare you demand her apologize to those people you... Bam! Ditsong didn't want to hear another word from this foul mouth. Waving his hand, an invisible force directly slams into the senior's chest and knocks him to the ground, causing a mouthful of blood to come squirting out in the process. Uncle Jun, growing increasingly more urgent in her face, Lu Qingyu knew she had to do something right now. "Go prepare my things. I intend to go apologize to them in person." "Miss." Losing all color from his old face, the severely injured old grandpa stares at his own lady in disbelief. "What are you talking about? How can you?" Taking the preemptive move by ignoring that plea, the slave acted accordingly to her own status by bending her back. "Mistress, I have set the orders as you wished. Is there anything else you wish to command of me?" Despite that voice being soft and melodic, it's akin to a thunder striking down from above for these people. Their eyes were popping out in absolute shock. What? Just a while ago this woman was still yapping on about killing them, and now she's calling someone else mistress? Isn't this a bit too fast for a change? Mistress. Uncle Jun awkwardly turns his old face towards Bai Yin, his demeanor stiff as a rock. "Lady, why are you calling this woman your mistress?" As someone with a sense of shame, Lu Qingyu naturally didn't have the face to tell everyone she submitted, because the other side forcefully made her consume a poison. So, as any shameless person would do, she lied and started spouting righteous words. "Uncle Jun, I'm only doing this because I believe my prior actions were wrong. If not for Miss Bai Yin here pointing me in the right direction, I would continue to go down the wrong path." Lu Qingyu's Goal 6. Uncle Jun looked very tight as he went over those words in his own head. Went down the wrong path. Found a new way. Does she truly understand what she is saying? Miss. The senior's face appeared troubled and tied while speaking. But in the end it was Lu Qingyu who cuts him off and further spoke. "Uncle Jun, you are someone mother left to me. If you stay then continue following me. Otherwise I won't stop you if you wish to leave. I won't force you into anything." In response to this blunt statement, this supposed faithful servant actually started to have second thoughts about his continued service. The fault honestly doesn't lie in this old senior. The madam back then entrusted Lu Qingyu to him for care. until she could come of age, and lead them to glory. But what was he supposed to do when said lady has submitted to another? Moreover, he had no intention of becoming someone else's slave. Just as Uncle June was pondering on how to open his mouth again, his sight inexplicably fell upon the Demon King's face from the corner of his eye. Though expressionless and unreadable, that menacing and deathly aura told him all that he needs to know, making a face that bordered on the line of crying. "Miss, I will go anywhere that you would go. I won't leave you." Who were they kidding? If he so much as showed the idea of wanting to leave, then he might as well forfeit his own head right on the spot. No one was leaving tonight, and anything else was no more than an afterthought. Towards the misunderstanding, Lu Qingyu was absolutely moved to the heart, showing an almost tearful face. "I knew it, Uncle June. Only you would not abandon me in this world." That causes a moment of awkwardness in the old grandpa. What was he supposed to say right now? Just mere seconds ago he was still deliberating on whether or not to abandon the lady and flee. But now he's being hailed as the most loyal follower? Let's be real, he's not that thick-skinned to not know shame. "Grandma." Bai Yan's attention eventually fell onto Jun Tianyu's face, after moving away from the two from the spirit realm. Smiling there. "Now that things are mostly resolved here, I will go down and rest first. Before going though, I have a birthday gift for you." Without giving the madam a chance to ask about what this gift was, Bai Yan has already presented it before the grandmother. This is, looking down at the open palm, she could see it's a glowing animal core of some sort. As to what sort of creature this nucleus hailed from, the madam didn't have a clue. Is it an animal core? But this isn't right. A normal animal core doesn't look like this. It's as Jun Tianyu says, a beast core from the modern age doesn't give off a glow like the one here she's seeing, though appearances did indicate otherwise. Monster essence. Of all the people who manages to recognize the origin of this core, it was Uncle June who stood out. This old senior clearly knew his stuff, based on the heavy breathing he was portraying. "Uncle June, what is a monster essence?" the slave asks with a look of bafflement. Inhaling deeply. "A monster essence can only be found within the monsters of the ancient era. The modern one we live in currently aren't capable of producing such nucleuses. Miss, these things are real treasures that can enhance a person's strength to incredible levels." To think this woman would have something like this. Just like this old senior, everyone else in the hall were showing looks of shock and astonishment. Although they don't know exactly the value of this monster essence, but the words ancient era was more than enough to hint at the extreme rarity of this bead. Lu Qingyu's goal 7. "Yenner, this is too valuable." The madam sounded like she's a little overwhelmed, but was stopped promptly by a cusping hand from the other side. "Today is your birthday, Grandma. Please take this monster essence. I only have this single one in my possession and no more." Bai Yan's meaning was simple. She got no more so the rest of you can stop thinking about it. Making a cough to clear his throat, it was Bai Chong Feng of the medicine sect who broke the silence from the crowd. "Since today is Madame Tianyu's birthday, then I won't argue about it. But Yenner, you must give your grandfather here something just as nice when you get your hands on another, okay?" "Ahumph." Lord Chu Ran from the Holy Land also chimes in by making an awkward cough. "That's right, Bai Yan. Not only your grandfather there, your 3 shifas from the Holy Land could probably use some nice things too. Oh yes, if you are going to give Zheng Qi and his brother something, then don't forget about me as well. I don't need anything amazing, just a rare treasure once in a while will do." As strong as their impulses were for this monster essence, this was still after all Jun Tianyu's birthday. But next time though, they are definitely not going to give up and fight for it among themselves. "Don't worry, Lord Grandfather. I will not forget any of you when I get something nice next time." Bai Yin makes a frank smile at her friends and family members, in order to reassure the promise, before returning to her husband's side. "Deetsong son, I'm tired now, let's go back and rest." Taking that as the signal to grasp onto his wife's hand like a clingy hubby, the Demon King was all flattering in his tune and demeanor. "Yes, okay, let's go back and rest. We will sleep together." There's no way Bai Yan would miss the wagging tail, hiding behind Deetsong's back right now. It's so obvious what this man wanted to do tonight, and she didn't like it. Sadly, no matter how much she struggled to remove that clingy hand from her own, the poor woman fails miserably and only made the big bad wolf get even closer. Meanwhile, on the side of this couple, the little steam bun was pulling his cute little face down in displeasure. I knew it. Now that mother has batty father, she no longer cares about me. Uncle June, is what you say really true? That is a monster essence? Staring in the direction of Bai Yan's fleeting figure, Lu Qingyu asks with uncertainty. The old senior smiles bitterly as he nodded in affirmation. However, before he could open his mouth, Jun Tianyu had already popped the beady little treasure into her mouth, thus causing an explosive spinning vortex of a storm to burst forth from her body. Even the roof was blown away in the process. For some of the unsuspecting guests, they were unfortunately knocked to the floor after losing their balance, while the more experienced and firmer ones popped their eyes out in an incredulous manner at the madam. In the end, it was Bai Changfeng who broke the eerie silence by stomping his old feet repeatedly. Oh damn it, I lost out. I really lost out. If I knew the monster essence can directly make one have a breakthrough, then I would never yield it. There hasn't been a known case of someone breaking into the saint rank for many years now aside from Bai Yin herself. Hence the major outburst from this lord of the medicine sect. Uncle June, this monster essence can help a monarch rank directly break into the saint rank? When Lu Qingyu asked this question, even her breath was panting with urgency. That would depend on the situation. This Jun Tianyu was on the verge of having a breakthrough to begin with. She only needed a little push, and that's what happened after she consumed the monster essence. However, if it was a monster essence of a very powerful ancient monster, then even a low-level saint rank can directly break into the celestial level and become a god. Uncle June heaves a long sigh like he's also lamenting the missed opportunity. Lu Qingyu's goal, 8. Sparkling with a meaningful light in her eyes, Lu Qingyu somehow appeared even more determined than ever. Uncle June, do you think we can achieve our wish if we follow her? The old senior shook his head in return. I don't know. What I do know though is that the demon realm back then is on equal terms with the celestial realm, and can technically be said to be superior in some areas. Then for some unknown reason, a major catastrophe occurred and they disappeared. Maybe this is the opportunity we've been waiting for. The two did not say anything more, only staring in the general direction of where Bai Yin and her husband left in. The night remains silently calm to a certain extent tonight, but there are certain variables that are not so quiet. Yin Yin, can we try again? Combing through those silky black hair of his wife's using his long powerful fingers, Deetsong asks with a hoarse voice of yearning. Oka, but before Bai Yin could answer with that blooming smile of hers, the man's excessively urgent kiss had come flying down and smothered out any words she wanted to say. Deetsong just couldn't wait any longer. Moving his hands with gentle grace while keeping an incredible speed, he tears apart that rosy red dress with amazing ease. Now showing to the world, and in the eyes of this big bad wolf, was that impeccable body that could drive any male mad. In response to this move, the woman herself didn't fight it after being stripped naked. Rather, she's now had her eyes closed in anticipation, awaiting the re-entry into that blood-ridden battlefield in her mind. Yet, hiss, the sharp piercing pain came fast and hard, striking her soul into a surprised shock. What's going on? Why didn't I get into the battlefield this time? I still haven't figured out who that man in white is. But the confusion didn't last all that long, honestly. Partially it's due to the lump of meaty flesh attacking her lower abdomen in quick succession. It's definitely not very comfortable at first, but that soon changed to a physical urge to meet the man's rhythm. Bai Yin won't deny it. The experience was turning her on, and the stream of stick fluid coming out of her said it all. Yin Yin, I won't give you the chance to leave me again in the future. Leaning closer to get his face up close, the Demon King's peerless face completely reflects into the woman's view and completely destroys the last barrier inside her heart. This time I can finally get what I want. Next morning, Bai Yin was fast asleep after a whole night of intense sex. That was until she was rude awakened by the increasing weight on her chest. Shooting those eyes wide open, a swell of anger promptly bursts forth after remember what happened. Scram. Damn this bastard, he didn't stop at all. Is he an animal? How can someone keep their rod that hard all night? And what's up with the weird positions he made me do? Oh, my waist and back, it's so sore. That's it, I'll make him pay for what he did to me. Oh Yin Yen, this is my first take experiencing something so amazing, that's why. First time. Bai Yin snickers loudly like she just wanted to slap him. If it was your first time, then where did Xiaochen come from? In light of that blunt remark, Ditsong didn't get fazed in the least. In fact, his grin only got deeper like he's a shameless fox. That time? Well, that time was you forcing yourself onto me. I didn't even get to experience any of the fun because of my dull state. Don't you think you should compensate me, my dear wife? Get off the bed. Oh my dearest, you really are a fickle when it comes to these things. No matter whether it's your gentle side or grumpy side, your hubby here will take it all, and like it very much. Come now, let's continue where we left off last night. I still have some more positions I've been craving to try. Twitching in the corner of the eye from utter frustration, Bai Yan's frosty smile grew dangerous against the perverted body that's currently rummaging naughtily atop herself. If you don't get off of me and the bed, then we will sleep in different rooms from now on. Sure enough, the threat did have some effect. Ditsong stopped whatever invasive act he was pulling down beneath. Even so, the Demon King didn't scramble off the bed like told, and instead pulled himself to one side while wrapping his arms around her clingily. Yin Yen, this is like a dream for me. Lu Qingyu's goal 10. I thought in this lifetime I would never be able to acquire a queen for myself, nor did I care for state teacher's prophecy. But with your sudden appearance in my life, I know I can no longer live without you. If you do leave me, then it will be by ripping my flesh and blood right out of me. Ditsong's tone had never been this sincere and warm before, causing the other side to tremble so slightly. Who taught you these words? She asks with a hint of blaming, like it's his fault that she's feeling all fuzzy inside. Am I really that kind of person in your heart? Showing a distraught look, the Demon King literally had black lines running through his face. No, I'm just a bit confused by it, that's all. These kinds of blushing words didn't seem to fit you. Oh Yin Yen, you will always be the most special one in my heart. Whatever I won't do for others, I will do for you. Do you not understand that? It's exactly like he says. In this world, the only thing that could make him give up his dignity and let go of his pride was her. Towards those heartfelt words, Bai Yin responded by embracing that body using her own. She's not blind. She could see the level of love he's giving, like the aggressiveness, the strong vicious nature of his character, and the heartlessness. None of that has ever been used on her, unlike everyone else. Ditsong, do you remember what I told you before? Whenever I'm not emotional moved while doing it, I would immediately fall into those painful memories that didn't belong to me. In her view, those people and the woman she embodied during those images weren't her. Or more exactly, it's things that happened in her past life. A fleeting memory of old. But this time, I don't know why, but I can't tap into that sea of memory. Acting in good faith, Ditsong narrows his eyes in and swiftly pulled the woman onto his chest. He wanted to use his entire existence to comfort that face. It's fine if you can't tap into those images. Perhaps it's for the best. Blinking her eyes in confusion, Bai Yin had this aching notion that this Demon King knew something which she herself doesn't. Now that leaves a question hanging in the air. Why? According to her impression, Ditsong clearly didn't know anything based on his initial reaction during the first time she told him about the situation. That means whatever he's hiding only became known afterwards. Recalling back to that mysterious white-robed man in the battlefield, Bai Yan's forehead had inexplicably furrowed into a tight knot. There are so many things that remains an unknown right now, and it's driving her mad. Yin Yen, you don't have to think about those things, said the man with a strong protective voice. You will always have me. Ditsong, are you afraid? While being embraced by those powerful arms, Bai Yin definitely felt a thump of worry when listening in on his heartbeat. He's definitely afraid of something. A little stiff in his reply. Promise me, Yin Yen, don't think about those things. Why? Because I won't allow you to be hurt in any way. I don't want to lose you again. Promise me, okay? Ditsong's arms grew tighter, showing how anxious he really was inside despite the vain attempt at acting strong. Musing for a second, "All right, I promise you." Since Bai Yan believes him, she won't press for an answer until he's ready. That's what a partner does. "But Deed Song, I don't want you holding secrets back from me." Their eyes locked together. "And my capacity to accept things aren't as small as you believe." Lu Qingyu's goal 11. Deed Song couldn't help but chuckle at his woman's plea. "I promised you before that I won't hide anything from you. That means I will carry out that vow. However, there are still many things I don't understand myself. Can you wait until I figure out all the black dots first?" Bai Yan complies with a comforted smile of her own, knowing she's not being lied to, which immediately warranted a long deep kiss from the other side. With the madam's birthday banquet being over, the guests too have also left for their own homes. But there are certain individuals who remained throughout the night though, mainly Lu Qingyu and Uncle Jun from the spirit realm. They've been waiting outside Bai Yan's room the entire night, so they heard everything, including the moaning and groaning for hours on end. Surprisingly enough, unlike the old grandpa, who was flushing hard from all the sexually arousing sounds coming their way, it was Lu Qingyu, who was rather calm for the awkward situation despite the uncomfortable stance she was making. Sure, she's still a virgin herself, but the fact that the noises could make an experienced old grandpa like Uncle Jun blush shows how intense the two occupants were going at it. This problem continued until late into the afternoon, ending only after the doors were swung open, and out came the occupants inside. Apparently last night's nourishing treatment did wonders for Bai Yan's complexion, because she was absolutely gorgeous in how her cheeks were a peachy pink. "What's the matter?" she asks with a hint of melancholy in the voice, after noticing the two waiting bodies. "I am here to greet mistress." Awkward in her reply, Lu Qingyu speaks up with a rather red face. "The formality can be put aside. Take this medical pill here, and have that old man eat it first." Pulling out a beady little thing similar to the one she fed the other girl, Bai Yan's expression was flat and unchanging. Thankfully the matter with the poison had been explained prior to this meeting, so the reaction wasn't huge from the senior. Merely a few twitches in the mouth before he swallowed it. "Mistress, please go ahead and call me Jun Hao. After you two finish asking for forgiveness, you are free to go back to the spirit realm." Go back to the spirit realm? Lu Qingyu's complexion promptly turned a shade whiter. "Mistress, my father will definitely investigate the matter before he comes to the mortal world. If I go back like this, then he's going to find out what I did. Please have mercy and let me stay." If she had managed to break into the celestial rank, then her father would at least keep her alive out of consideration for her usefulness. But that wasn't the case here, and the only fate awaiting her return would be death. "I believe you will have a way to get through it, and if you can't do anything, then what good is there in keeping you around?" "I don't have use for idle loafers." Bai Yan bluntly throws her logic out in the open without a bit of mercy, causing the other lady to go ghostly white. "Mistress, I am very useful and strong." Panic apparent in Lu Qingyu's voice. "I can fight in battle and Uncle Jun can protect you during a clash." "Oh," Bai Yan's voice sounded amused. "Protect me? I believe my husband is more than enough to protect me. The two of you are excessive." Deed Song's gaze also started to get dangerously narrow at the two interlopers trying to steal his job. "My wife has spoken. Do you two have an opinion?" Now this has left the two on the receiving end in a bind. This mission they got was truly difficult for them to achieve. "I will carry out your orders as commanded, mistress." Getting to her knee, the woman from the spirit realm complies after gritting her teeth. She understands this was the only way to prove herself. Good. Only then did Bai Yan's expression soften up, taking out 2 bottles from her pocket. "This here is the antidote portion for 1 year. Come back to me for more afterwards. And if you don't believe me the effects of the poison, then you are free to not take it." Lu Qingyu's goal 12. "Believe? We of course believe you." Jun Hao forces a charming smile to hide his own unease. "Mistress, having us go back to the spirit realm can't be without reason. Do you have something in mind for us?" "Yes, you are right. I do want you two to do something while back there. However, I don't have an exact mission, Yet aside from passing on information to me. Passing information? Junhao appears surprised by the idea. But how are we supposed to pass information to you? The spirit realm is next to the demon realm. If anything happens, then you can go to the border and have one of the demons carry the message to me. If I ever find out you withheld crucial information, then you better pray to the heavens. At the thought of the consequences of having his gut melting through due to the toxin, Junhao immediately went on a slew of promises and vows to indicate his loyalty. Don't worry, mistress. We will definitely report any information we come across to you. You have my absolute loyalty. Are you done with the flattery yet? Bai Yan's gaze narrowed into a warning look. If you are done, then get going. I don't care if you have to beg or plead to those who lost their loved ones. You must get their forgiveness. The two slaves exchanged a look of helplessness, their faces bittersweet at their own predicament. They know the path ahead of themselves are going to be a rough and difficult one. Ditsong, let's go see my Shifus and grandparents. It's very likely they still haven't left yet. She then stretches lazily like it's still early despite it being late into the afternoon. Mother. Then from out of the blue, a tiny little guy rushes over from the front and directly crashed into her stomach, causing even Bai Yan to stumble back a few steps in the process. All teary and pitiful in the face. Mother, did Batty Father hurt you last night? I heard your tragic cries last night. But great-grandfather and them won't let me come and save you no matter what. Tragic cries? Bai Yan's face was as dark as it comes, turning rigidly to the one responsible. Ditsong yesterday. Did I really cry out that tragically? She gets an affirmative nod in return, and causes that back to stiffen. If that's so, doesn't it mean the entire Misty Fairy house has heard us? How am I supposed to go meet grandfather and them? Oh, this is too embarrassing. Oh, forget it, I better go back and nap instead. She wanted to run back into the room and hide herself. Unfortunately. Mother, don't you want me anymore? Bai Xiachen tugs at the hem of her dress with the most aggrieved and wronged face he could make. Towards this image of her boy, Bai Yan could truly say she's about to melt from how adorable he was acting. How can I, you silly? Mother couldn't wait to give you hugs and kisses. Then why do you not want to see me? It's not that Mother here doesn't want to see you, it's just, she's really stumped at this moment. Unable to finish her sentence, the plea-filled woman turns to Ditsong for help using her own distressed face. Xiachen, don't fluster your mother with your questions. The Demon King says it with a serious face despite laughing inwardly. She has to go see your great-grandparents now, so help me support her. Oh, okay. Acting like the good little boy that he was, Bai Xiachen completely misses the fact that he's being toyed with by his old man, and was now firmly holding onto that hand in support. Seeing herself being surrounded by one big and one small foxes, Bai Yan's face instantly turned dark from how the ridiculous course the scene has played out. What are you two doing? I can walk just fine on my own. That's not true. Maybe after last night our son will be having a little sister soon, so everything must be on careful side. Younger sister? In that second, one could definitely see sparkling stars in the little steam buns, due to how ecstatic he was acting by jumping up and down. Lu Qingyu's goal 13. The boy hurries to tug at Bai Yan's sleeve. Mother, is what Batty Father said true? Am I going to have a lovely little sister soon? Yes, as beautiful and lovely as your mother. Ditsong scraped his finger along the little steambun's nose in a doting and spoiled manner, which immediately removed any hint of the sadness the boy felt just seconds ago, practically jolting with joy. If I have a beautiful and lovely sister, then I will cherish her and keep her safe. I won't let anyone bully or harm her. If anyone dares, then I will break their leg. While the son and father duo were having their gleeful moment, the most important female here, on the other hand, was having a brain tumor explode from within, pointing at her son's face with twitchy eyes. Son, do you know what you are? What? Bai Xiachen asks with innocent and confused looks. In my hometown's word, you are what they call a sistercon. What is a sistercon? Blinking his big blue eyes, this word didn't register at all in the kid's brain, as he titled his head sideways. A sistercon is someone who will spoil their sister until they become a princess, and not allow anyone with bad intent to approach her. But you are wrong, Mother. It's not me spoiling my sister into a princess. Rather, my sister is a princess. She's going to be the demon realm's princess, so I need to protect her and not allow any misbehaving bad people bully or harm her. Due to how innocent and affectionate his smile was, the boy's attitude was quickly rubbing off on the woman's irked mood. Unfortunately, your sister still hasn't shown up yet, son. You need to dampen your expectations. No. Sister will appear. Bai Xiaoqin's face appears dead set on the idea and puffed up those cheeks. I had a dream about sister last night. Perhaps it's a signal from her, so I know she will appear. For a while Bai Yan didn't know how to respond to her boy's firm stance on the matter. At this rate the boy is going to go crazy about a sister. It's just a dream, how can a baby come out so quickly? Baddie father, don't forget. You also promised me a little brother to take over the demon realm's rule. The kid then puckers up his lip like he's thought of something important. By then I can take my little sister out into the world, to visit all sorts of places. We can enjoy the food that is offered, and the unexplored lands waiting to be visited. I can't wait for that. Don't assume just because he's young and still a child, that he won't understand the heavy duties that come with the position of being a ruler. The boy's not going to assume the relentless burden of overseeing a whole realm. That's something he intends to unload onto his unborn younger brother. Yen, how about we work harder and give Xiaoqin a younger brother as well? Puffing his breath right next to the woman's ear, Di Song's words were tingly and nerve-wracking for the faint of heart. Flushing red from the remark, Bai Yan didn't want to face her husband. How can this father and son act like this? There's not even a girl yet, and they're already asking for a boy too. It's too whimsical. Enough Di Song, we're going to see grandfather in them. Pulling herself together have a long heave, she diverts the topic to get herself out of this hole. You're not scared anymore? The man grins. Thinking back to the moans and cries for mercy from last night, Bai Yan goes all red right up to the ear for a second time, but got firm in her suggestion. We will have to meet eventually. What's more, I still have something I like to give them before they leave. Oh Yen, you shouldn't think too much on the matter, you know. It's human nature to do what we did. They will understand, since they're well experienced as well. Human nature. Well experienced. Bai Yan's eyebrow twitched incessantly due to how easily her man's words were able to make one croak. Is this how a family's supposed to act, like getting along and well? Staring at the departing backs of the family of three after they managed to get going, Lu Qing, you had a look of envy in those eyes. I also wished for something like this for my father and mother once upon a time. Harmonious and happy, but unfortunately, such a picture would never come to pass for this lady of the spirit realm. That luxurious scene that she dreamed up as a child shattered years ago when her mother passed away, and started the perilous journey of self-improvement and assassination attempts from her enemies. A celestial rank guardian? 1. Back over in the main lobbying hall, the atmosphere was a little awkward right now, especially after Bai Yan and her husband arrived on the scene from their bedroom. Among the occupants who had the biggest beef with the Demon King would have to be Yin Feng, the girl's father. This man had a death glare firing towards the other male like he's facing an enemy, and those fists were constantly making crunching sounds. Then again, who could blame him? Di Song clearly abducted his daughter. Had it not been for Jun Tianyu's grandmother, satisfied opinion of this grandson-in-law, he would never have accepted Di Song so quickly. Blushing hard upon seeing the gathered crowd, Bai Yan stutters a bit in her opening speech. Shifus, grandfather, grandmother, father, lord, how did you all sleep last night? Talk about a bad topic to break the awkwardness. Almost immediately, this poor woman wanted to bite her own tongue off for stirring the pot. And sure enough, her father Yin Feng speaks up with a blaming voice after glaring at Di Song. He abducted my daughter. How can I sleep well? Trying to avoid eye contact with her own father, Bai Yan promptly shoots a glare at the perverted fox in the house. You see this? It's all your fault, everyone is looking at me funny now. Yet, Di Song's expression remains unfazed against the resentment and stares he's getting from the rest of the family. He just stood there and took it like a happy jolly husband that has gotten his way. Heck, that stupid grin told them all he's not ashamed in the least for what he did last night. and even relished in the attention. Father-in-law, we already have Xiachen. If you claim I abducted your daughter, then I've done so 6 years ago. Don't you think it's a bit too late to say that now? Sure enough, Yin Feng's face became stiff as a rock. He's angry, and not at Ditsong either. It's at himself for not being there before. In his mind, he should have been with his daughter during the toughest hour. But because of his own mistake years ago, by returning to the Misty Fairy house, his precious girl had to endure all those humiliation at the Bai house, and became pregnant without marriage. That's something he likely won't ever live down. Ditsong, I don't care what your identity is. I only have this one baby daughter, so you must treat her well in the future. Also, the rules of our family must be abided. The look in this recently recovered patient appeared solemn and firm, like he won't have it any other way. Smiling in return, Ditsong felt confident he could meet those demands, so he readily complied. Father-in-law, please say it. Firstly, you are not allowed to have any concubines. Our family only permits one wife and one husband per couple. If you can't keep that promise and forsake my daughter, then I will separate you two, even if Yenner hates me in the end. Rest assured, father-in-law, I only have Yin Yin in my heart, and will have no other in this lifetime. If any female dares to have any wishful thoughts about me, then I will personally cut them down before they can try anything. Nodding in satisfaction over those words, the protective father seems pleased. Now secondly, you are to follow her wishes to the teeth. If she goes east, then you can't go west. If she tells you to stop, then you can't go forward. You are to support her unconditionally. He may have only recently regained his sanity, but Yin Feng understands that his daughter's path wouldn't be average if she continues to follow this man. It's going to be a perilous and tough road ahead, and he doesn't want any regrets to befall the girl. A celestial rank guardian? 2. A humph. The younger brother Sun Huan suddenly chimes in stupidly. Big brother, when did our family have such rules? However, his thoughtless question didn't even get to finish one before Yin Feng shot him the deadliest threatening stare this man has ever mustered up in his life. It's like a knife, piercing and stabbing right into the womanizer's heart, and telling him that if you so much as say another word, I will twist the blade and make it so it becomes as painful and agonizing as it comes. Chief Wu Wei was watching his two sons' interaction on the side, and he's absolutely relishing in the fact. After all, he's their old man, yet he's the one being punished heavily, like he's lost all level of respect and status within the family. Ha brat, that's what you get for inserting yourself in conversations that you don't belong. Now know how your old man here feels after getting the cold shoulder from everyone. Thankfully Ditsong didn't pay attention to the womanizer's words there. All firm in his stance, aside from her wanting to take a male concubine, I can promise her anything, including killing people. I won't ask the reasoning, nor do I care if it's right or wrong. If she grabs the knife, then I'll hold it for her. If she wants to protect others, then I will be the shield. I will stand by her side for the rest of my life. That proclamation finally had an effect on the stubborn father. Showing a relaxed face, Yin Feng even lost the initial hostility he portrayed thus far. Thirdly, and like you said just now, I want you to be beside her no matter where she goes. You are her shield, and I want you to swear by your words. Can you do that? In this world where gods and demons are considered real, it's not that far-fetched to believe divine retributions would also be real when it comes to an oath. Father, Bai Yin exclaims and wanted to stop this. However, by the time she could react, Ditsong had already raised a hand to say his oath. I, Ditsong, solemnly swear by my name as the Demon King, that no matter where Yin Yin goes off to, war or wherever else, I will always be by her side and be her shield. Also, I will listen to anything she says, and do whatever she wishes me to do. Then, to emphasize his point, the man turns to lock eyes with his own wife. If I ever violate this oath, let me be damned to eternal hell, and bear the burning flames of eternal torture. Due to how powerful this speech was, it had the immediately effect of winning the female body over. Yin Yin, don't you worry. Nothing will happen as long as I don't break this oath. There won't be any problem. Indeed, although the oath was somewhat vicious in nature, but that's only under the assumption of him not following his own words. My son-in-law said it right. As long as he doesn't violate the oath, then it's non-existent. Yun Feng guffaws a hearty laugh, and lost any semblance of the stern father-in-law image he portrayed earlier. He's now my son-in-law. Yenner, you are much more fortunate than your mother. Your husband is brave and courageous, breaking through any obstacle that comes his way, unlike your old man here, who did the stupidest mistake ever. That year he lost contact with his wife, after being tricked into return to the Misty Fairy house. That's why he couldn't even begin to fathom what it must have been like for Ninger. Pregnant and alone, bloody and injured. Just the thought of that image brought a stir of intense pain in the man's heart. Yun Feng. Chief Wu Wei expresses remorse, and got up from his chair after seeing his eldest son's sorrow. I am so sorry. Father, this is not entirely your fault. I also played a role in that tragedy back then. I should have known better, and not left during a crucial time like that. The reason why he forced Ditsong to make that oath was also mainly due to his own past. He didn't want the pair to follow his own path. A father would always be a father, regardless of how little time he spent with Bai Yan. And if this son-in-law doesn't follow through, he himself would carry out divine punishment in place of the heavens, if nothing else. A celestial rank guardian? 3. A humph. Bai Changfeng suddenly makes a soft cough after listening in on everything. He may be the girl's grandfather, but unlike this Yun Feng who thought so far ahead into the future, he only found it annoying that Ditsong abducted the girl without permission. Yin Yan, you came at the right timing. Your grandmother's birthday banquet is over now, so we should also be leaving. The Lord of the Medicine Sect comments. Wait. Bai Yan hurries to break free from Ditsong's grasp and stepped over. Before you all leave, I have something to give everyone. What? Everyone's attention immediately locked onto the girl's hand, that materialized a set of beady little objects, which radiated a warm glowing light. These are undoubtedly the highly sought-after monster essences. Due to them being of lower quality, and that Bai Yan already broken through into the saint rank, the monster essences in front of them are borderline useless to her, so it's the perfect gift for her loved ones. These are. Bai Changfeng eventually asks with a look of ogling uncertainty in his old eyes. Didn't you say there are only one left? Due to there being so many people at the time, I couldn't take them out, grandfather. But now that it's only family and friends here, there's no reason for me to keep hiding them. These are something I specifically reserved for you all. The news definitely caused waves among the occupants here to the point where some ended up gulping from it. First Elder, hurry and go back to inform our people that I'm not going back to the Holy Land yet. I need to stay here in the Misty Fairy house to make a breakthrough. Pressing down his inner desire, Lord Chu Ran issues the command with a serious face. In response though, Zheng Qi only made a blaming chuckle. Lord, there's no need to send me specifically back for a simple message. We can throw this task to one of the younger disciples. Us 3 brothers are Yin or Shifu. There's bound to be a share for us as well. I'm afraid none of us will have time to leave. That remark immediately causes a flushed look in the careless lord's face. He didn't think at all earlier when making the order, so he's now embarrassed for himself. I guess I am too excited right now. Yes, we can send anyone back to pass on a message. No need to have one of us go in person. Digesting the monster essence comes first. On the other hand, Bai Changfeng of the medicine sect was still ogling the beady little things laid before his eyes. Then, as if struck with a revelation, this old grandpa promptly began to count with his fingers, before stomping his feet in frustration. Oh no. You bunch from the Holy Land has 4 people. The Misty Fairy house also has 4. Yet my medicine sect only has 1. This won't do, Yenner. You must leave your Uncle Zhamping a peace. Breaking out into a giggling laughter upon seeing how silly and childish her elders are, Bai Yan happily obliges them. Don't worry, grandfather. I've already set aside a portion for Uncle. However, I need to remind all of you this one clear point. Unless the user is at the monarch rank, they mustn't take these monster essences I'm giving out. It will do more harm than good to the body. Don't worry about that, Yenner. Your uncle has already broken through to the monarch rank during this period while you were away. Right now this lord of the medicine sect really hated himself for failing in producing more children. Otherwise he could have gotten more monster essences in his share. Now you are wrong there, Lord Bai. Our Misty Fairy House has 5 and not 4. The womanizer Sun Huan then stretches out his hand in an open palm gesture after suddenly chiming in. You mustn't forget about me, Yenner. No matter what, I am still your little uncle. Plus we have a very deep friendship, so I should also get a portion. Very deep relationship? Deetsong's sensitive ears immediately picked up on that part and got all feisty. Pulling his wife into a possessive embrace, this clingy demon king narrows his eyes into a provoking stare. A celestial rank guardian? 4. Yin Yen, what kind of deep relationship do you have with him? The sourpout demon king made sure to emphasize the word deep when asking his question. Oh, years ago he tried to flirt with me and I beat the crap out of him instead. Bai Yan's voice sounded mildly frank, like it's some old unimportant story. However, it was no different from a death sentence for the womanizer, because in that instant Sun Huan could feel an invisible blade brandishing right up against his neck. Sun Huan, how dare you make a move against my daughter? Making a bone-crunching sound from his fist, Yin Feng says this with gnashing teeth, like he's ready to clobber his younger brother. Big bro, listen to my explanation first. Back then I didn't even know she was your daughter. No matter how much of an animal I am, I would never touch my own niece, right? Sun Huan defends himself with a downright crying face. Whether Yenner is my daughter or not is not the point. Do you think a scum like you is worthy of her? Yin Feng's harsh words were relentless and blunt, tearing up with grievance. Big bro, how can you look down at your own little brother like this? Are we siblings or not? First off, what I'm saying is the truth. You are attracting so much wild flowers out there that it has completely destroyed any credentials you have already. And more importantly, as if a little brother is on equal terms with a daughter. Talk about a pitiful state he's in. The womanizer suddenly realizes that compared to his old man, who's getting the cold shoulder from everyone, he too also held no status in this family. Back then it was like so, and now it's still the same. Whatever, I'll go find comfort in my own harem instead. Let's go. Unfortunately, Yin Feng didn't have any intention of letting his younger sibling off the hook. Grabbing that collar like a claw, the man drags the other one away for the outside. Big bro, where are we going? Didn't you want to tease my daughter before? We're going to have a little sparring practice instead. Well, practice was a lie. The actual truth was that he intends to beat the daylights out of the younger sibling. And sure enough, a series of mournful cries could be heard in the air, not long after the brothers left for the sparring hall. Shaking her own head at this spectacle, Bai Yan didn't know what else to do but to sigh. It's not like I didn't want to give him a monster essence. Rather, his cultivation is just too weak to take it. Making a shrug of the shoulders, she returns her attention to Bai Changfeng and the rest. Oh right, Lu Qing, you told me the reason they are attacking the 3 powers is because of the keys hidden underneath each place. She claims it could open up a miracle, correct? Chief Wu Wei was the first to realize what she meant. Startled at first, he exchanged looks with his other 2 counterparts before sighing. Yenner, you are right. Before, when I said I wanted to wait for Lord Chu Ran and Lord Bai to arrive, is because of the keys buried underneath each place. This confirmation immediately causes an increased thump in Bai Yan's heart. It's just, the one to follow up was Bai Changfeng of the medicine sect. The key's exact location is unknown even to us. We only know our ancestors hid it somewhere, and that one can only attempt at unifying the keys once they are at the upper level of the saint rank. T-Hat's the decree they left us. Upper level saint rank? Bai Yan's gaze narrowed in like she's thought of something. I see then. It looks like I will need to wait a bit longer before I can pursue that so-called miracle. There must be a reasoning for why the ancestors left behind such a decree for their descendants. Since she has broken into saint rank, already it's just a matter of time before she could meet the necessary requirements. By then everything would become clear. Grandfather, I will leave the division of these monster essences in your hands. I still need to go find the other members of the Lawn House. She turns for the outside after getting the hoped-for answer. Not long after the family of 3 left, A burst of looting ensued among the remaining occupants. "Quit robbing me. I'm Yenner's grandfather, so it's only natural I go first." Making the claim was naturally by Chang Feng of the medicine sect. Unfortunately, his opinion fell on deaf ears here. "Move to one side, you old fart. I am Yenner Shifu, and the first one she met back then. If anyone's going first, it should be me." Qiu Shurong III fires back with his own claim. A celestial rank guardian? 5. A humph third elder. "I am the Holy Land's lord, so I should be before you." Chu Ran had wanted to use his position and righteous words to sway the rest, however. The following ruckus instantly overwhelms him. Seconds later, after realizing his own stupidity, the once proud lord also joins in on the snatching and looting. Simply said, it has devolved into a street-leveled brawl like those wives at a fabric store, tearing and ripping and such. Apparently Bai Yan's message of equal sharing has gone over their heads in front of the prize. Over in the guest quarters specifically set aside for the rest of the Lan family members, Bai Yan had just walked through the main doorway when she saw a familiar figure. "Yenner, you have come." Dong Ruolin, aunt, greets the girl with a gracious smile as she reached over to grasp her hands. "Aunt, did your brother over in the Dong family come bother you again lately?" At first this adopted aunt from the Lan house was taken aback by the suddenness of the question, but that quickly changed to happiness at the care she's receiving. "No, not since after the previous event. He's matured a lot and moved out of the Dong estate, so I didn't get to see him much. I'm sure he's aware by now that I don't want to see him, either, since I deliberately avoided him when coming back." "Then that's good." Bai Yan smiles cheerfully in return upon knowing everything was going well. "Anyways, I got something I want to give you all." That said, she readily strolled into the main room, where Old Lord was already sitting inside. The grumpy old grandfather was still showing his grouchy face as usual, but that swiftly changed after he recognizes who it was. Getting up, this senior tried hard to restrain his inner urge to smile, and failed miserably, because those eyes said it all. He's smiling from within. There's no need to show it because that look was that of an elder seeing their grandchildren all grown up and well. "Grandfather." Bai Yan's voice sounded soppy. She's honestly moved by Old Lord Land's behavior, because the amount of love this old grandpa gave her didn't lose out to Lan Xiaoyan, girl cousin, at all. "Yenner ache." He heavily sighs with a bit of frustration and pain. "Truth is, I should be glad that you are not Yuer's flesh and blood. That way you wouldn't inherit her weak-mindedness and innocent nature." Hurrying over to her adopted grandfather's side, the girl leans downward on one knee to get in the same height. "Oh, grandfather, you shouldn't think like that. My brother Shower is mother's son, and he has his own opinions, doesn't he?" Speaking of Bai Xiao, Old Lord Land's lip promptly curled into a proud smile. "That is, of course, he did inherit my good blood, so how can he be a spineless boy?" Against this swift change in attitude, Bai Yan had nothing to say. All she could do was leave her mouth twitching with disbelief. "So the good genetic is from you, and the bad is from your daughter? How does that even work?" Old Madame Lan also felt this was wrong, and decides to step in as well. Dark in the face. "How can you talk about your own daughter like that? What kind of father evaluates their own daughter so negatively? No matter how bad Yuer was, she is still your girl." "Humph. If that girl had listened to me from the start, then would she be ruined by that scum? Not only did she leave this world so early, I also have to send her off before moving on myself." This really was the typical case of love cuts it deep. Based on that trembling fist, it's obvious this old grandpa loved his daughter dearly and treated her like the shining jewel of his heart. Otherwise, why else would he grieve for so many years after Lan Yu had passed on from this world? A celestial rank guardian? 6. Grandfather. Seeing how the atmosphere was going down the wrong path, Bai Yan hurries to shift the topic to another. "I have something I like to give you all." Turning around to signal her son with a wink. "Son, hurry and bring over the gift I prepared." Doing as told, the little steam bun didn't wait and toddles over to the old senior. "Great-grandfather, these are the Dan pills mother made for you. They are very delicious, I tell you, so quickly take them." This. The grandpa looked surprised by satchel he's given. Is this a storage bag loaded with Dan pills? That size, there must be a lot inside. Showing a frown. Yenna, your grandfather, I know about your amazing talent in alchemy. But these are too precious and time-consuming to make. I speculate it wouldn't be easy even for you, so it's best you keep it for yourself to use. Giving it to me is too wasteful. Grandfather, don't forget I have an alchemy hall operating within the flower brothel. These are all produced over there, and not by my hands. Also, you are my weakness. Only by making you all strong can I feel at ease while charging in the front. Bai Yan's face got all stern and hard as she says this, which somewhat startled the old senior. Blinking his eyes for a second, old Lord Lon eventually nodded after thinking it through. All right, I guess you are right. I'll accept these then. All smiles after getting her way, Bai Yan almost devolved into a child while explaining the effects of her gifts. These Dan pills are very useful, grandfather. Some are supportive in nature, able to help the rest of the family advance quickly in their cultivation. A monarch rank shouldn't be far away if they train hard enough in the following years. Oh yes, grandfather. I also have other gifts prepared if they do. Old Lord Lon just couldn't resist a sigh at this point. Looks like my daughter's smartest and wisest choice in life was to adopt this wonderful girl. If only she didn't fall for that scum, then all would have been great. Yen. It's unsure when Di Song came up to his wife's side, but his hand had already wound around her waist. Actually, you don't have to go through so much trouble, if all you want is to protect grandfather and them. I can summon a couple of the demons currently training in the secret domain back at the demon realm. A few celestial ranks should be plenty. Boom! This remark causes this poor old mortal to freeze over in the brain. Old Lord Lon had initially wanted to take a sip from his teacup when the careless demon king threw out that sentence. As a result, he instantly dropped the container and splattered the content across his own lap. What did my grandson-in-law just say? Send 2 celestial rank demons to protect me? This is a dream, right? Yes, it must be a dream. Ignoring the part about whether there's really demons at that level in existence, even if there does exist, Old Lord Lon doesn't believe for a second that such incredible beings would willingly come act as some doorman guard for a mortal human. That's wonderful, Di Song. Bai Yan happily accepts the proposal and nodded like it's natural. And ID there's a few extra. Can we also place a couple at the 3 powers? I fear those from the spirit realm will come again eventually. Of course there is, since you asked. Even if there wasn't enough, he would forcefully produce a few, all for the sake of keeping his precious wife from worrying. Ahumph! Old Lord Lon couldn't take it anymore, and coughs a few times to get their attention. I'm happy you have this heart, Yenner. Whether or not there's celestial rank demons is of no importance. What matters most if our Lon house improving our strength. Bai Yan knows her adopted grandfather doesn't quite believe her man's words. But no matter, she only needs to make it a reality for it to be all settled. Grandfather, grandmother, you were willing to accept me even when my reputation was down in the dirt. It's back then that I swore to myself that I would help raise the family's status. Though back then she already had the flower brothel and Holy Land acting as her support. But that's not something this family knew. Even so, they accepted her and her son without a single protest or contempt. That's a debt of kindness she won't ever be able to repay. Fox Clan? 1. Throbbing that throat several times, Old Lord Lon ends up not saying a word after trying repeatedly. He's too moved to the point where he didn't know what else to say. Anything right now would just be superficial and pointless. Great-grandfather, how has Nangong Juan been doing? Bai Xiachen asks with a hopeful light in his big blue eyes after remembering his little friend, whom he hasn't seen for a long time. That year while they were visiting the palace, it was by pure coincidence that they came across the malnourished and heavily bullied young prince. Then by fate or kindness, Bai Yan also ends up taking the skinny boy as her disciple and brought him along as her own. If not for the fact that the family needed to leave the Lu Hua Kingdom and couldn't bring the prince along, they would still be together right now. Don't you know? The old grandpa makes a surprised face at their lack of knowledge. Back when your Uncle Xiao left, he also took the young prince along with him. Now we don't know where both of them are. Grandfather, I intend to go look for my brother after this celebration is completely over. Don't worry. I'll be sure to bring both of them back in one piece. In this world, aside from her son and husband, Bai Yan's biggest concern would be her brother. As for her disciple, it's unavoidable that the attachment to the prince remained on the lower end. Now the news immediately causes the old senior's forehead to loosen over. Then I can be at ease. I'm sure they will be fine if you're on the case, Yenner. Despite the calming and reassuring smile from the woman, Bai Yan's heart wasn't as confident as her outer appearance portrayed. She doesn't know their whereabout, and according to her experience, a simple training outing would have been over by now. Even if Bai Xiao doesn't return, there should be at least some traces or news from her spies by this stage after searching for so long, yet there's none. Perhaps Ditsong had sensed the worry in his wife's based on that demeanor, raising a hand to hold her shoulder in a reassuring manner. You don't need to worry about Bai Xiao. He will be fine, so be at ease. And if you're really uncertain, I can accompany you in your search. She faintly nods like the promise helped, returning her attention to the other family members. Grandfather, grandmother, I might not be able to send you all off later, but don't worry. The people at the Misty Fairy House will send you back home in my stead. Lassie, reluctant to separate so soon, old Madame Lan grasps on the girl's hand like she's going to cry. It's so hard for us to meet nowadays. If you got free time in the future, you must come back home to see us, all right? I will, grandmother. Carefully retracting her hand like she might offend the other side by doing so. Bai Yan then exchanged a look with her husband to signal it's time to leave. Together with their son in tow, the family of three soon disappeared from view. Ditsong, do you have something to do? She asks after they're alone again. Giving a nod in confirmation upon being asked, Ditsong answers honestly. Xiachen wanted to enter the secret domain for self-training, so I intend to send him in there in the not-so-far future. Once that's done, I can then accompany you in search of your brother and that disciple of yours. Bai Yin remained silent and didn't refute the offer. It's true she's not able to be at ease unless she goes out to search in person. Reading through that thought, Ditsong makes a charming smirk for his own little win. Yen, if you really want to go search, then you can go on ahead first. I will catch up later. However, you must keep Dragoni by your side at all times when doing so. Dragoni? She shows a startled face at the request. All deep and stern in the voice, the man makes it clear he's firm on this stance. That girl is not ordinary, so keep her by your side. Only then will I be at ease if you're going out there alone. He understands that even if he prevents her from going, his wife would surely sneak away in the dead of night. Rather than doing something fruitless other than to enrage the precious woman in his life, Ditsong would rather comply and earn some more merit points, so he could use in bed. Mother. It's then the little steambun tugs at his mother's sleeve after being ignored for so long, all pitiful and teary like a pet that's about to lose attention. I'm going to miss you. Fox Clan? 2. Aching in the heart over this picture, Bai Yen hurries to bring her son into a comforting hug. Mother here will promise you. Once I find your uncle, I will immediately come back to wait for you, okay? Really? The little steambuns I lit up with expectations. Of course. If you don't believe me, then we can pinky swear on it. Mother, I'm not a 3-year-old child anymore. Such tricks are only meant to deceive little babies. Now that's just embarrassing for this doting mother. It's like the boy says, he's no longer 3, he's coming up to 7 this year. However, Bai Xiachen's face breaks out into a lovely and innocent smile. I will believe anything mother says. Once you find uncle, then you must come to the demon realm and wait for me. I don't want the first person I see to be Batty Father when I come out of the secret domain. Now that's just wrong. Ditsong's beautiful instantly goes dark at that comment. This brat, does he detest me that much? I'm his old man and deserves respect. But instead of breaking out into a chuckle like she normally would over the sly words of her boy, Bai Yin instead hugs the boy even tighter, until Bai Xiachen was almost unable to breathe. Fortunately, this filial and sensible child knew what the gesture meant, and allowed it to continue despite the discomfort. Neither of them felt happy about the separation, and this was their way of communicating their emotions. Son. It was Bai Yen who eventually broke the silence by loosening the hug. Remember to be careful while training inside the secret domain. Safety comes first no matter what, understand? I know. In order to emphasize his point, the boy makes a sweet little peck on the woman's face before breaking out into a huge giggling laugh. I will definitely be well and safe, because only by being safe and well can I protect Mother from harm. Her heart ached at this. The boy's ability to please her and say sensible things are just too good. No matter how she tries to tell herself this was for the best inwardly, Bai Yen knows she's going to miss him desperately during this period. In the end, it's her own powerlessness that's the cause. Clenching her fist, a stubborn and firm aura exudes out of that face. Whether it be the celestial realm or spirit realm, I will not let any of you off for this. Suddenly, from out of the blue before she could react, Deetsong's hand had swung her around and pressed his lips firmly down on hers. It's somewhat cold and shocking to the mouth, but that quickly changed into a comforting battle of the tongue. Releasing his prey, Yen Yen, don't miss me too much, I'll come to you soon. Initially Bai Yen was still a tad flustered from the forceful kiss on herself, but the remark instantly destroyed any lovely mood she felt from the act. Dark in the face, she's got to hand it to this man and his delusions. When did I say I was going to miss him? Oblivious to his own lack of status in this family, Deetsong gives one final yearning look to his wife, before turning away for the outside with the boy in tow. It wasn't just the husband here who didn't want to leave either. The kid as well while being led away. Bai Zaken would turn around to look backwards after every 3 steps, like he's going to run back at any moment. This saddening departure continued until their figures were completely out of sight, and the interjection of a familiar childish voice. Queen, where is His Majesty and Highness going? Swinging her head around, Bai Yen could see it was Dragoni, the very girl she intended to find after she calms her aching heart. However, it appears that objective was no longer necessary. They have other things to do. Dragoni, during this period it will be just you and I, okay? Okay. The dollish young lass answers loudly without hesitation. Giving a tug at the sleeve. Queen, His Majesty is so terrifying. When he is around, I would always be too scared to approach you. Bai Yen couldn't help but prick her brow at this sudden comment. Is Deetsong really that scary? How come I never found it so? Like when they first met. At most he would only act all threatening and tough in front of my presence. Never did he do anything truly harmful. Fox Clan? 3. There's no need to be afraid, Dragoni. He only liked to scare people. He won't actually hurt you. Bai Yen then caresses the girl's head as a comforting gesture. All happy in her eyes, the little missy forms a smile now and loses that worrisome face. Queen, I like you so. Even if the king is scary, I won't leave you. Within the demon realm, there doesn't seem to be anyone who's not afraid of him, so her worries are within expectation. But of course, the main reason wasn't because the demon king did something cruel. Rather, it's his aura being too dominant and powerful to his subjects. The fear just comes out of their hearts without any coercion. Let's go then, Dragoni. Holding the lass's hand, Bai Yen leads the way to only get a surprised question from behind. But Queen, don't we have to tell the others first? No need. I don't like the teary separation scenes that will inevitably come of the meeting. What's more, I've already left them a letter, so they'll know once they see it. Though she says that, Bai Yen did make a reluctant look in the general direction of the main courtyard. It's obvious her words were only half true as she continued to walk. Dragoni, I've been meaning to tell you this, but you shouldn't call me Queen from now on while we're in the outside world. Huh? The Missy asks with a bit of confusion. Then how should I call you Queen? You. She muses for a moment. You and Xiachen are the same, so call me Mother. Since the day I adopted you, I have already thought of you as my daughter. Though it's unintentional, her comment had caused the little Missy to clench those dainty hands tightly. What's the matter? My former mother was very bad to me. Pursing her lip, Dragoni's view was all blurred up due to those brewing tears in her eye. Because my soul opened up late, she would always call me the little fool. It's you, Queen, who didn't abandon me and flaunt me around as a laughingstock. I'm so grateful for being adopted. Back then she didn't know better, so the sort of grievance and sadness experienced by normal people didn't apply to herself. But now it's different and she understands it all, including the sort of miserable maltreatment by her former family. Queen, can I really call you mother? Am I also going to be a child with a mother in the future? I'm actually really good. I'm not lying so. Bai Yin felt pained by the girl's defensive words. Sure, she herself also faced discrimination in the Bai house by her so-called father and stepmother. But that's only for a short period of time in this world. Dragoni on the other hand faced such harsh conditions for years, since her birth despite the hindered mindset. Dragoni, you just need to know that I truly look to you as my flesh and blood. Just like Xiaqin, you two are my children, and that will never change. Crouching down to be at eye level, she tries to soothe the little missy with her own gentle smile. And from now on you don't need to be so low on self-esteem either. No one is going to ever hurt you while I am around. Showing a beautiful smile in return, Dragoni looks genuinely happy at the promise. I'm so happy. From now on I won't have to be envious of those children I see playing with their parents on the street anymore. Come, it's getting late so we should go now. Picking up her adopted daughter, Bai Yin wanted to use this gesture to emphasize their connection, and there's no lies in her words. Together, this pair headed for the outside with a newfound sense of joy in the air. On the intersection making up the border of the demon realm and celestial realm, this stretch of land has now become a place of war. Although it's not scorched with blood like some battlefields back in the old days of Earth, this was still very intense for the sort of clashes that occurs between the two sides. Fox Clan? 4. Currently inside a restaurant located at the border city between both realms, there's a young female and her precious young daughter enjoying a fine meal together on one of the tables here. Normally their presence would surely catch the attention of the customers inside this establishment due to their looks, but the recent events around this region were too interesting for the others to care about some random stranger. The older female was naturally gorgeous, of course. Wearing a rosy red dress, she was the epitome of a thorny flower that's beautiful yet untouchable for the mundane. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the table sat a young lass who had a contour just as fine. Though the girl lacked the allure of a full-grown adult, those eyes were deliciously appealing enough for those with a nasty taste for the young. Since the seal shattered around the demon realm, those blasted beasts have run amok around here, and those from the core of the celestial realm won't do a damn thing. Now this border city is close to being overrun by those demons. It's because our side is so weak that we were forced to stay in this border city. If those big wigs back in the celestial realm cared anything about us, then they would permit our entry into the human world instead. Now not only are we forced to confront those demons here without help, we can't even flee to the weaker realms. At this rate, I wouldn't even be surprised if the entire celestial realm is conquered by those demons. Even if the strength of these rabbles here are considered insignificant by the truly strong, but once transferred to the human world it's still a considerable force to be reckoned with. Dragoni, we're leaving. Bai Yin says this after she's done with her eavesdropping. Though confused in the eyes, the young dragoness nevertheless followed from behind like a clever girl that she was. Only after they're out of sight did she bring forth her inner doubt. But mother, where are we going now? Just now those people mentioned the demons here have formed a recognizable force in this border city. If we go seek their help then we might just be able to find your uncle. Even if not, it will at least increase the pace of our search. But is uncle really in this place? Biting her nail, the lass asks innocently without a care in the world. I don't know, but according to the pieces of information I got from my sources, he shouldn't be too far from this place. Forcing an uncertain smile, Bai Yin knew she was going at this with thin ropes. Regardless, we will still need to try our luck, since we don't know where he is. Who knows, we might just get lucky and score one from the start. Oh right, Dragoni, since you're also a demon, are you able to tell which part of this city has the strongest demon scent? If demons gather then they are bound to produce a recognizable scent in the air. By going to the area with the strongest, she would then be able to find some help. I can. complying with a heavy nod of her head. The young dragoness then began to sniff the air until her nose points to the general direction in the east. Mother, there are a lot of demons over there, and they're foxes. Foxes? By Yan's eye lit up. If it's the foxes, then even better. Dragoni, we're leaving. To the east of the border city, there stood an old manor adorned with a gold plaque at its entrance. This read the word fox, to indicate the sort of individuals living in this estate. At this moment, there's a string of musical melodies coming out from within, and following this sound was the graceful dancing of a woman inside. Her movements were beautiful, matching that with the hypnotic eyes of a fox. She's an unforgettable specimen of what a female should embody if they are out to attract the opposite sex. Fox Clan? 5. Miss, your dance is getting more and more beautiful. Even our noblest king will certainly be mesmerized by your beauty. One of the maids nearby compliments after coming back to their senses, due to the amazing show. Scratching the other side's nose with a genuine smile, the lady felt good at being praised. What are you saying, you silly? Don't forget, it was my older sister's foolish dream of wanting to become the queen, that we were forced to leave the demon realm and come here. Do you think His Majesty would be so easily captivated? Miss, you are wrong on that. Unlike first miss, you are superior in both looks and charms. There's no way the king wouldn't fancy you. I bet in this whole city, there's not a single man who wouldn't fall for your beauty. Although this flattering remark was exaggerated to a certain level, it did have a very high effect on the fox lady. Why did she abandon her cultivation to specialize in dancing and seductive charming? Of course it's to allow her family and herself to return from their exile and the demon palace. Unfortunately, she and her father did not believe in the same way of doing things. Her old man has accepted their fate of being exiled to this gutter of a wasteland due to the varying degree of constant warring, and wanted to take this border city as their base of power, believing the hard work done here would eventually earn the king's forgiveness and allow for their return. The goal was the same for the pair, but the means to that goal differed between father and daughter. This mouth of yours is really getting sweeter and sweeter. It's unfortunate that the king already has a queen according to what I've heard. This road I've chosen will be a long and hard one. Miss. It's then a voice from the rear interrupts their conversation. Coming over, the individual looking like one of the guards here arches his fist and speaks. There are 2 people outside currently wishing to see the housemaster, but he's. See my father. The lady became surprised by the idea. Raising a brow, who are they? A human and a demon, the guard answers respectfully, making amused look as if contemplating her options. My father is currently in closed-door training, so no one is to disturb him until he's out. I'm his daughter, so if there's anything of importance then I will see to it. Bring those 2 to me and I'll meet them. Yes, milady. Getting the order, the guard promptly went away for the front door, where the 2 should still be waiting. Outside of the estate at the front gate, Bai Yin was quietly waiting with Dragoni for the home's host to show themselves when a group led by a lady in pink came out to greet them. From first glance, she could see why some would call the fox demons a race of seduction and allure. This lady had a very beautiful contour, but the most outstanding feature were those eyes. They spoke of femininity without words needed. While there's no problem for one to want an outgoing appearance and dress code, Dragoni on the other hand didn't feel the same, and found the fox lady rather dislikable. I believe I said I wanted to see the fox clan's chief. Bai Yin says after seeing who had come out. I'm his daughter Humei. You can speak to me if you have something to say. Humei frowns after being dismissed as the one in charge, and also showed a hint of hostility in the voice. Being dismissed despite coming out to greet some unknown stranger would of course irk anyone. However, Humei had another reason for disliking Bai Yin, and that was their looks. This fox demoness had always believed her own beauty to be unmatched aside from the princess and king being on par. Yet now there's a strange human woman coming to her home, and had a contour far superior to her own. As the old saying goes, one mountain cannot hold 2 tigers. My mother is the queen of the demon realm. Breaking free from Bai Yan's grasp, Dragoni hurries forward to make a stand. We are looking for the Fox clan's chief. Fox clan? 6. Queen? Umei's gaze shoots out a frosty beam as she snickered with contempt. You got some nerve. How dare you pretend to be the demon realm's queen? Do you know what sort of crime it is to impersonate her highness? My mother is the queen. Ho, the fox lady responds equally as sarcastic to that outcry. I've only heard of the queen having a son, never did I hear she had a daughter. If you are going to impersonate someone, then at least do your homework, and get a boy instead of an unruly lass. Seeing how upset her daughter was becoming, Bai Yin hurries to step in before the little dragoness loses it. Pulling that small figure back to her side, she then flipped over her hand to show a jade pendant engraved with the word demon on it. Can this thing prove my identity then? Now go have the fox chief come see me. Umei became startled by the rudeness and looks down, her eyes appearing suspicious and doubtful. What is this thing? I've never seen it before in my life. Don't think just because you have a weird-looking jade pendant that you can go around impersonating the queen. Lady, even if you love our king, you still shouldn't use such means. She then goes ahead and makes an exasperated sigh like the woman across from her was another one of those wishful females whom have dreams of attaining a post far beyond their own standing. Bai Yan's expression right now could only be described as having black lines running through her face. Back then when Di Song gave her this identification token, the man specifically said it could prove her identity to any demon out there. But as anyone could see, it's obviously not working. Unbeknownst to this poor queen though, this fox clan here in the border city was only a branch of the other one in the demon realm at this point. Since they've been expelled and exiled here to some far-off land, their ability to communicate with the rest of the demon world has become limited. Therefore, it's not all that surprising they wouldn't recognize the custom-made token she got from Di Song. The biggest issue in the end was the lack of information in this world. I have never seen a shameless wench before. A maid from one side scoffs derisively. If you want to be the king's consort, then use your own ability to reach that goal. What good is there in impersonating the queen before us? Another maid joins in as well. That's right. Our king is not a blind person without taste. A woman like you would never get in his eye, so I doubt his majesty would even give you an extra glance. Utterly outraged by the snarky comments coming their way, poor Dragony eyes began to glow red. I'll kill you all if you keep talking nonsense. My mother is the queen. It is you all who doesn't know anything and can't recognize the identification token. You. The maid who spoke last wanted to fire back a rebuttal again when Umei steps in with a raised hand to stop the act. What are you arguing with a kid for? Getting all smug herself as well, Umei turns her gaze directly towards Bai Yan's when speaking. Our fox clan is a gracious household, and we do not argue with the whimsical and hopelessly wishful types. If you two got nothing more to say, then I suggest you leave. My father will not meet you, lady. That sly comment was the last straw for the poor dragoness. Practically trembling due to the inner rage wanting to come out, the lass stares dagger at the fox lady like she's seeing a dead person. You stinking girl. As servants, there's no way some of the maids wouldn't notice the hostile look coming at their lady. For one of the more outspoken and clever ones, mainly the woman compliment Umei of her dancing earlier, she had come forward to point her accusing finger at Dragony. Sadly, that was a huge mistake, because that finger was a huge flailing target ready to be bitten. Ah! The outspoken maid screams in terrific pain as the razor-sharp teeth grinds against her finger. Stinking girl. Let go right now, let go of my finger. There's no Dragony would let go though. Instead, she bit harder until blood has started to seep out of the maid's finger. This causes the second maid to run forward in haste to stop this. However, before she could slap Dragony to get her to stop, Bai Yin had intervened. Next thing they all knew was the brittle sound of bone breaking from the wrist by the fellow maid. Di Song's letter. 1. If you continue to want to touch her with your dirty hands, then you can forget about keeping them. Bang! Giving a shove, Bai Yan's maneuver sends the injured maid stumbling backwards until she's on the floor with tears of pains flowing down those cheeks. Miss, this woman is too arrogant. Enough. Hume orders with an expressionless face. I said it before. There is no need to argue with a child. Or are you bold enough to go against my words? The maid immediately shudders at the thought of what that meant. Hanging her head low, the injured servant didn't dare to speak. Don't assume just because the fox lady's usually kind on the surface, but only these maids who have followed the demoness from young would know her true nature. If angered, the one to be the most ruthless would have to be Hume, and not the fox chief in this household. Lady, it's my maid who offended. Can I ask your daughter to release her jaws first? Shooting a warning glare at her own people, Hume then returns her attention to Bai Yen with a rather calm expression. They only said those things out of kindness. After all, impersonating the queen is not a small crime if discovered. Scoffing a brief chuckle of her own, Bai Yen was so done with this place. Fine. If the Fox clan here have no intention of seeing to us, then we will not linger. Dragoni, we're leaving. Oh. Loosening that mouth, the little dragoness didn't forget to shoot one final stare at the victim, before turning away with her mother. Once the two were out of view, the frightened maid on the floor finally climbed back up from the floor. Miss, those people are too arrogant, so I. Despite the timidness in that voice, she asks nevertheless to quell her own doubt. I know, you don't need to say more. Hume narrows her eyes in with a dangerous glint in those irises. That woman is only a human, nothing to fear. However, that child beside her is a member of the dragons. I heard the new dragon chief is a highly protective man. If he learns of us harming one of his clan members, then it would surely create a conflict between both groups. That's something I would like to avoid for the time being. The lady then turns for the inner estate after giving her reasoning. Come, we're going back inside. Also, keep this matter from my father. I don't want him learning of this matter. Yes, milady. The servants and maids all complied with a bow of their head, but those eyes all had a disapproving light in them for leaving this matter alone. In their minds, the strange woman dares to impersonate the queen, so it's just a matter of time before she's discovered and sentenced to death by those in the palace. Then from out of the blue, as soon as Hume managed to make it back to her own courtyard for rest, a huge explosive sound rocked the air. Looking up in surprise, she could tell it's coming from the back. My papa has completed his closed-door training. Come, we're going to see him. On the back of the small mountain here, a bearded man wearing a long green robe had just walked out of the cave when he was taken aback by the red fox running over from the front. House chief, there's a letter from the palace. The fox presents the letter like it's a precious treasure. A letter from the palace? Hu Budwei felt his heart pounding with excitement after the thought. Trembling in his hand, he almost fell into tears after holding the precious envelope. How many years? How many years has it been since the palace placed me in the blacklist? Deetsong's letter, too, addressed to Hu Budwei, chief of the Fox clan. These 5 words were a bag of mixed feelings for the Fox chief, because he didn't understand who would still write to him from the palace. Ever since his eldest daughter tried to seduce the king, everyone from back home has kept a steady distance from his family and wouldn't communicate with them out of fear of being exiled as well. However, those emotions were quickly tuckered away as soon as he glanced over the content of this letter. The one writing was the king. That's the name of the sender. In the entire race of demons, only one individual would call themselves the king. Am I hallucinating? Rubbing his eyes to get a better view, Hu Budwei crimped his forehead to focus in on the letters, until his eyeballs were mostly bulging outward. His Majesty wrote to me? He wrote to me. Downright sobbing in joy, the Fox chief couldn't hold back those tears. He won't lie to himself. His eldest daughter did commit a crime worthy of death a century ago. Drugging the king so he would sleep with her? That sort of idiotic scheme would have been killed in its infancy if the Fox chief himself knew what the girl had in mind. But regretting won't change a damn thing at this point in life, so he's not going to dwell on his daughter's death. What he would do though was to grab onto this rare chance and achieve a great merit. Only by doing so would his family here be allowed to return to the demon realm. According to my informants, your queen, my wife, has now gone to the border. If she is to request assistance in any way, The Fox clan led by Hu Budwei must offer aid in all possible manner. In addition to the first edict, none is allowed to disturb her unless sought out. If there are any violators, they are henceforth banished from the demon realm in its entirety and never permitted to return. On the other hand, if Hu Budwei, head of the Fox clan, can appease my wife and earn her mercy, the currently banished branch of the Fox clan at the border shall be graced with amnesty and allowed to return from their exile. In short and blunt words, if she is satisfied, then I as the king am satisfied. If she's not, then you are screwed. Gripping the letter heavily with all the energy he could muster in those shaking fingers, Hu Budwei got all red in the face from the hope presented before himself. Yes, the king is finally giving me a chance. All my patience and loyalty wasn't for nothing. My family can finally return to the Fox clan and take its helm again. You there, make sure my second daughter doesn't find out about this letter. Do you understand what I mean? The Fox chief hurries to give this warning after remembering something important. As the old saying goes, only a father would know their daughters best. The oldest had already pushed their family into this horrible state due to her whimsical wish of marrying the king. Now he mustn't allow his second daughter throw away her life for that dream as well. They both love the king and he knew that. Therefore, he must crush that hope to avoid a repeat of the last. What's more, he's afraid the girl might try to harm the queen if news reaches Hu Mei's ear. That's not something beyond his daughter's ability. Yes, my lord. The red fox complies with a nod of the head. Perhaps the news from Di Song had made the fox chief's mood exceptionally high, because he was humming the entire way down the mountain. Unfortunately, his jolly attitude quickly came to a stumbling halt when an excited cry from the front forced him to a standstill. Father! Looking over, Hu Budwei could see it was his youngest daughter Hu Mei. In that instant he didn't show any joy, only a tense look with black lines running through his face. Without a second thought, the fox chief hides the letter in his hand before turning to face his own girl. Di Song's letter 3. Mayor, did anything happen while father here was away? Hu Budwei's question didn't get a direct answer. Instead, it causes the servants and maids that came with the fox lady to lower their hands in avoidance. Hu Mei didn't miss the faces coming off of her people from behind. Slightly annoyed and slightly appeased at their willingness to follow her orders, she bits her lip and hurried to speak. Father, nothing special occurred during your time away. Only a woman coming around to make trouble for our house. But don't worry, your daughter, I have already dealt with her, and make that person leave. How come? Our family shouldn't have offended anyone of late. Oh, don't fret over it, father. It's probably just because we are the Fox clan, and that woman wants to get close to the king through us. I easily saw through her plot, and ended it on the spot. That greatly relieved Hu Budwei. That's good then. Don't let such woman near the king, especially when his majesty has taken a queen now. Our family can't afford to offend her highness, otherwise we will be left with no place to go. Father, how can the queen be that narrow-minded? Hu Mei asks with a raised eyebrow. Even though many of the denizens of the demon realm only took one wife in their lifetime, including countless chiefs of the various racial groups, but it's their king here. If a single woman gets to monopolize such an incredible male, then it's too much of a loss in this fox lady's opinion. Mayor, the matters in the palace is not something we can judge or dictate. In any case, don't speak ill of the queen lest the words reach that one's ear. It will only end with the suffering of our family. Also, they say the queen is peerless in her beauty, so you need to stop thinking about the king. Father, Hu Mei's eyes beamed a resilient light of unacceptance. Those people are only exaggerating the queen's contour because they want to flatter the woman. In terms of charming allure, who can match up to us foxes? The fox chief didn't agree with the idea and frowned. Mayor, no matter what, the queen is still the king's woman. I know, that's why I won't be as stupid as my older sister. Making waves with her incredible smile. I will only have his majesty fall in love with me naturally. I won't do anything foolish like trying to force the matter. If he doesn't take action, then of course I won't do anything. I disdain forced emotion. There's good reason for Hu Mei's confidence. The fox race has an inherent ability to seduce and charm the other sex, making them the perfect play toys for men. So father, you don't have to worry about me. Your daughter I knows what is good for our family, and what is not to do. If the king really doesn't have me in his eye, then I will give up on my own. But Budway still had a frown on his face, due to the unease he felt. I heard the king isn't allowing any woman who has thoughts for him near the palace. Now that's where you are wrong, father. No man will reject a woman's love for them. As long as I don't make any move without his consent, then it's fine. What, am I not allowed to even have the right to love? Yes. As long as I express myself and not use dirty means, then the king won't treat me like my older sister. After a moment of musing over that logic, Budway ends up snapping anyways. No. You are not allowed to do anything remotely risky. I've already got word from the king. Now the Fox clan only needs to complete a mission for His Majesty to return to the demon realm. I won't let you ruin this rare opportunity, just because of your feelings. Having said that, the Fox chief then whisked his sleeve to begin turning away, but before giving one final warning look at his own daughter. Mayor, I don't care what happens in the future, but you better keep that emotion in check during this period. Song's letter 4. Alone by themselves again after the Fox chief had left, one of the maids carefully raised a suggestion. Miss, the housemaster's words aren't unreasonable. May didn't get mad at this, in fact, she smirked instead at those words. Father is too timid for his own good. Since I have made my decision, then I'm not going to sway in my determination. Breaking out into an abrupt laugh. Her voice was truly a marvel to listen to. What's more, who doesn't want to be a person of superior stature? My fate will be controlled by me, by my own hands. The other maids didn't dare to object to her proclamation, only hanging their heads in silence. Only a fool would raise their voice now in these sorts of situations. You are all underestimating yourselves without knowing the foe first. Our lady is so excellent. I'm sure she is many times better than that whatever queen. The maid who likes to flatter and suck up to her mistress decides to speak up in support, causing the rest of her peers to share looks of uncertainty around the group. What's more, miss, you only need to perform a dance before the king to win his fancy, I'm sure of it. When that happens, what else can that queen do even if she's jealous? It's a settled matter by then. Feeling better, May's expression eventually loosens up from her forced laugh. I knew you are the most sensible one among my maids, Chi. As for you, Shu, you don't have to follow me anymore. I don't need such a timid maid to serve under me. Brushing past the girl that's now abandoned, the fox lady disappears from view in a flash. Walking along the streets of this border city, Yen and Dragoni was currently casually strolling around the various stalls, when the unhappy little lass finally spoke up. Mother, are we just going to let things slide with the Fox clan? His Highness said it before. We must return the favor if anyone dares to pick on us. If Mother is afraid of pain, then I can do it instead. Chuckling at the steaming face of her adopted daughter, Yen found it rather amusing how quickly she has copied the behaviors from her own boy. Don't worry about what happened before, Dragoni. It's only a few squabbling words. No need to waste time and effort on them. What's more, I've already left a little punishment on those maids who tried to hurt you, so the main priority is still to look for your uncle. As for those members of the Fox clan, it's not like they can run from me. Also, you should stop calling Shachin His Highness, call him brother. He's always wanted a little sister, so the change will be to his wish. She then went ahead to pinch the girl's cheek in a doting manner, which immediately causes the receiver burst out giggling with joy as well. As long as I can stay by Mother's side, then I will listen to anything. Unlike the dull and clueless nature from when they first met, Dragoni's tone and wording has definitely grown by leaps and bounds. It's befitting the image of a young lass who's still new to the world. This precious moment of bonding would have continued to nightfall if nothing happens. However, the ruckus and familiar voice up ahead soon caught the eyes and ears of the two ladies. The little dragoness was rather indifferent to this, only finding the commotion interesting for herself, but Yen on the other hand could immediately recognize as the owner of that new voice. It's him. What is he doing here? Ever since they separated ways back then, Bai Yin has had no news from the person or his whereabouts. Making a somewhat excited face now, she quickly pushes aside the gathered crowd to make it to the forefront. Sure enough, reflected into her eyes was the youngster and his pink little piggy, just like in her memories back at the medicine sect. Battle 1. Yin Yin. The young teen rushes over with pure excitement after noticing who has come. Practically shining in his appearance, he's like an elf from those old legends, handsome and pure. Yin Yin, where did you go after you left that day? I and Piggy searched for a long time and couldn't find you anywhere. Did you forget about us? In support of his owner, the pink little piggy also oinks a few times to show his displeasure. Thinking back to the time they shared together, Piggy could only say his recent days with his owner has been miserable. Forget about having a good time. His meals were reduced to meager porridge due to their lack of funding, totally different from the feasts he enjoyed while under Bai Yan's care. What's more, his owner Emoli Shang wouldn't stop reprimanding him about cannibalism when he begs for some roast pig during a meal. Oink oink, master is clearly making excuses. How can those hogs be my own kind? No way, which part of them look like me? But how did you two end up here of all places? Bai Yin asks the teen and pig with a look of perplexity. It's not like she's forgotten about these two she met at the medicine sect. Rather, she had to leave with Deed Song for the demon realm, that she decided to let her grandfather at the medicine sect take care of them. She was sure the boy would eventually regain his memories after a while, so it's somewhat strange that he's not going home and ends up in this border city instead. It was Piggy who brought me here, Emoli Shang explains with noticeable glee in his voice. He noticed the scent of his own kind here. That's we're searching for his clan. Anyways, what are you doing here, Yin Yin? Oh, I came to find my brother. If that's the case, then let me accompany you in your search. As long as you don't leave me behind again, then I'm fine with anything. Scratching the back of his head with a shy smile, the teen eventually noticed the little dragoness hiding behind Bai Yan's leg. Showing an incredulous face. Yin Yin, who is she? Is she your daughter-in-law? Making a troubled face with black lines running through her face, Bai Yin could already imagine what her son would do if he heard this comment. It's pretty much a certainty the little steam bun would break out crying. This is Dragoni, my goddaughter. As to whether or not she will become my daughter-in-law in the future, that's entirely dependent on the children themselves. I don't intend to force my wishes on them. There's no question about how fond she was of this girl. Cute, beautiful, and sensible. These were just a couple of the merits that could be used to describe Dragoni's good points. Oink oink. Suddenly jumping into the dragoness's arms, Piggy rudely but carefully began to sniff the poor girl's scent. He's not doing anything perverted or mean. Rather, the little winged piggy was surprised to find there to be a very nice scent that made him want to get close to her. Unfortunately, the sudden and abrupt contact had completely scared the daylights out of Dragoni. Dropping the pink little guy down onto the floor without a second thought, she hurries to scuttle backwards like a frightened cat. This also irked Bai Yin somewhat. Showing a black face, she immediately picks up Piggy and tosses him back to Emoli Shang's hand. You pet scared my daughter. Oink oink. But the negative reception didn't matter to Piggy. Instead, the little guy began to struggle hard to break free from the teen's hand because he wanted to go sniff Dragoni's scent some more. This had the direct effect of scaring the poor girl to the point where she hid behind Bai Yan's leg for protection. Mother, I hate pigs. Poking her head out while making this comment, the lass's cheeks were puffed up in displeasure like a balloon. Though her words were said with a hint of spite to begin with, Dragoni never intended to produce maximum damage. Not only did Piggy's heart shatter into a million pieces after hearing that, the poor little guy immediately broke out into a tearful sob and ran away, leaving only a dust of cloud in his wake. Piggy, Emoli Shang wanted to chase his friend. However, his worries were for naught because those people that were in dispute with them from the start had stopped the little fella from leaving. Battle 2. Under the encirclement of these people who wish him harm, Piggy's initial wave of sadness was swiftly replaced by fear and panic. Thankfully he wasn't alone because Emily Shang was quickly able to catch up to his side, picking the little fella up. The teen wraps his arms around the pink piggy, with alarmed eyes at these people. Young man, you're a proper human, so why are you protecting some stupid animal? If you're willing to hand over that demon beast, then we'll let you live. The leading bulky-looking big man steps forward to offer, his expression cold and threatening. The insult didn't sit well with Piggy at all. Shooting a hard stare back, you are the stupid one. Your whole family is stupid. I am clearly the smartest and cleverest little piggy under the sky. How can you lot compare me with those stupid beasts? Shang. It's then Bai Yin also walks over with Dragoni in hand. Showing a frowning face. What happened? Before when I came over to this place with Piggy, pursing his lip in grievance, this group of people suddenly surrounded me and demanded I hand him over. Piggy is my family. There's no way I can hand him over to these people. Bai Yin instantly got cold in her aura. You take Piggy and leave first. I will deal with this. I won't, said the teen with a firm shake of the head. This trouble is caused by us, so I can't let you stay and take it for us. I'm a man, so it's me who should be protecting you. As a hot-blooded young man, how could he leave and let a woman deal with his problems? Che, here comes another too, said the big hulky man with disdain. Girl, why do you side with these demons? Hurry and take your daughter and leave. We will not lay our hands on another human. It's normal for humans to coexist with demonic beasts elsewhere in this world. But here in this border city where it's rift with strife between both races, such a thought could only be a dream. Therefore, the group demanding the handover of Piggy held an indescribable strong hatred for the demons. Oink oink. Seeing how reinforcements has come, Piggy's initial tepidness were quickly changed to arrogance as he growled out at the group blocking his path. Unexpectedly, some of that saliva even ended up splattering over to the big hulky man in front. Hurrying to wipe himself free from the gross slimy liquid from his own face, it's obvious the act has infuriated the leader based on those veins popping out in the forehead. You're seeking death. How dare you get arrogant while on human territory? My brothers, we've been suffering under these demons for months now. Let us take revenge for the misery we've endured. With his order, the group behind him quickly surrounds the place from all angles. Bai Yin didn't panic, nor did she get intimidated. Instead, her eyes were quickly scanning the surrounding area and the chances of her coming out on top. According to her assessment, there are around a couple here who are at the middle level of the saint rank, likely some of the strongest here in the border city. Sure, they're a level higher than herself, but she had the bone quill from the holy domain to act as her weapon. Putting up a fight shouldn't be an issue. What's more, if the other side didn't have any divine artifacts to match, then a victory would be assured. Go look for whoever killed your loved ones. Piggy is my friend's pet, so I won't allow any of you to harm him. Battle 3. Releasing her hand around Dragonis, Bai Yin takes a step forward to make a stance. The big bulky man huffs a grunt at this picture as he swings his huge knife down at her. Perhaps it's the strength, or that he's imbued the strike with his own power. But a whirling series of wind blades instantly forms into existence for the woman. Boom! The attack was direct, raising up a storm of dust clouds from the recoiling force. Sadly for the man, the effects were minimal. Bai Yin did not take even a step back from the strike. Instead, she was able to easily block off everything with her tiny bone quill. This unexpected outcome humiliated the big guy and earned him some odd stares from the back for sure, because he was acting so confident and such in front of everyone. Yet look at what happened, nothing. Not a cut, not even a tear in the clothes. Furthermore, his huffy attitude soon changed to shock once this big guy realized what he was confronting. This bone quill, it's a divine artifact? If not, then what else out there can produce such drastic effects? Thinking up to here, a powerful flash of greed beams out of the big hulky man's eye when looking at Bai Yan's weapon of choice. It's invasive and gross, like he's undressed the woman from top to bottom. Brothers and sisters, let me handle this woman, and I'll leave the others to you all. Arrest this teen and young girl for colluding with the pig. Giving the corner of his lip a lick, the guy turned menacing. just like an evil final boss cackling a laugh from those old movies. Emily Shang wasn't as calm in the back, though once those foes began to move against him. He's flustered from being confronted with so many people. Even so, he somehow managed to resist the attacks with a sword he pulled out from somewhere on his own. This didn't escape Bai Yan's attention, of course, which greatly surprised her due to the teen's amazing strength. This Emily Shang, he's a saint rank as well. If he had such power to begin with, then why was he severely injured at the medicine sect? And why did he lose all his memories? What does his appearance mean? Despite all these lingering questions that she once answered, Bai Yan didn't have room to dwell on the issue. The reasoning being that the attacks are now aimed directly at the dazed-looking Dragoni to one side. Dragoni, get away! Going pale in the face, she cries out in her urgency. Unfortunately, the last didn't budge, only staring at the oncoming blades with a look of fear, like she's overcome by the emotion. However, then it happened, right before contact. Perhaps the thought of death finally brought the dragoness back to reality, but the next shoving push from the clueless girl's hand did more than just resist the swing of the blade. She sent them flying. You baddies, go away. You're not allowed to harm my mother. Moving at lightning pace, the young lass's body became a blur of light as she becomes enveloped in a sacred light while dashing forward with her own attack. Baddies! Anyone who hurts my mother are baddies. I'm going to eat you all. Grawr! A deafening draconian roar rocks the air and land, causing even the light to fluctuate for a split second from the sonic wave. But this wasn't the most important, rather it's Dragoni's new transformation, gradually lengthening in size until she's her true form. The lass was no longer a green color like before. Instead, she's now pure white from top to bottom. Then, without so much as another word, she gulps down the closest human cultivator in one fell swoop. I'm going to eat you all. There's no childish tone in her voice this time around, nay, nor does it sound dull and timid. Instead, it's the sound of a determined girl of sizable strength that rang into everyone's ear on this border city. Emily Shang had stopped his actions by this point, much like the rest around himself. But it was Piggy who was the mouth shocked by the girl's transformation. The poor little pig was slacking his jaws open from not knowing how to react, because he's the one who offended Dragoni the most from sniffing her earlier. He's quite happy at not being eaten. Battle 4. Demon. This little girl is also a demon. And a dragon at that? The big hulky guy has already come back to his senses from the initial shock of Dragoni's transformation. Retreat, everyone retreat! He yells this out with grit between his teeth. Those bastards from the dragon clan are all madmans in the guy's eye. In fact, he only provoked the confrontation because he saw Piggy was alone and from a weak racial clan. Now that things are involving the mighty dragons, his courage had gone out the window. Pity for him though. Bai Yan has no intention of letting these people leave, because she's already blocked off his escape route from behind. Didn't you want to eat a roast pig just moments ago? What, don't want it anymore? Why are you leaving so early? She asks with an obvious level of disdain. The situation looked dire for the big man, as he anxiously watched the new Dragoni devour all of his brothers and sisters. Before he knew it, he's the only one left around here, the rest already being nutrients in the young lass's stomach. To make matters worse, Dragoni just had to go and make a loud burp like a stuffed diner. That's a real trauma for those that's on the dinner plate. Mother, what should we do with this guy? His strength is too high for me. I'm scared that I can't digest him like last time. This was already a long stretch for the dragoness's belly, because of the amount of lower-leveled saint ranks she gobbled up. Bai Yan didn't mind it though, in fact. She's more worried about the girl's new transformation. Unfortunately, this was no time to be inquiring about the details, so her eyes are locked onto the remaining foe, her bone quill glowing with sharp bitter light of frost as she does so. Lady, do you really think I'm afraid you too? The big man makes a frown before continuing. If it wasn't because I'm afraid of provoking the dragon clan, after killing this lass, then both of you would be dead by now. In other words, him not fighting wasn't out of fear. It's merely to avoid provoking the revenge from the dragon clan. Also, This would be the only opportunity for Bai Yan and her friends to leave since he's being merciful right now. Yen, this guy is a typical coward that only knows how to bully the weak. Emily Shang finally catches up with Piggy and Hold. He saw how easy Piggy was to pick on. That's why they demanded to take him. Now that the dragons are involved, he immediately cowers away. The big man grew furious and embarrassed at being called out. Humph, you bastards are seeking death. Fine, it's only retaliation from the dragon clan. Wuxiong can handle it. Swoosh. No longer trying to run, the big bulky man known as Wuxiong slams the tip of his blade onto the ground and stirs up a cloud of dust. Regardless of the cowardice in his heart, the person was still a man. There's bound to be blood in there somewhere after being mocked to such extent. Shang, you step back. Clasping tightly onto her weapon, Bai Yin faces off against her foe with determination. Okay. The youngster didn't struggle with the idea. Getting back to the rear with Piggy, Emily Shang's eyes were clear as the water. Yen, if you cannot hold on then change with me during the fight. We can use the turtle wheel tactic and beat him that way. Mountain 1. Huffing a grunt with a cold face, Wuxiong's body disappears in a flash as he makes his move against Bai Yan. The attack should have sliced the woman in two according to the image this man envisioned. But his attempt was in vain, because the target had sidestepped to one side, right before contact, like there's eyes behind her back. Even so, the recoiling force from the strike nearly splits the cloud, and left a huge crack that stretched for hundreds of meters on the ground. This battle was no longer between the two parties. It's far too huge of a commotion, and has attracted everyone living along this border city. This includes Humei that's not far away from the epicenter. Furrowing her brow at the rising smoke. What's happening? Who's fighting over there? Miss, shall we go and see? Huchi the maid asks with a respectful voice from one side. Humei the fox lady was at first undecided, but as soon as she saw her old man, who Budway rushing for the outside, any hesitation was removed. Come, we're going to investigate the fighting. At the same time, many of the strong humans living here in the border city were also alarmed by the fluctuation in the air. They didn't wait, and also rushed for the place of battle. Under the battering of the gusting wind, Bai Yan's expression was that of caution against the foe in front. No matter how much she looks down upon the big bulky man, he's still a mid-level saint rank cultivator. Focus was key in this fight, if she wants to achieve complete victory. Yen, seemingly able to sense something, Emily Shang hurries to cry out from his end. This isn't good. There are a lot of powerful people coming this way. Just like her handsome young friend, Bai Yin also became aware of the prying eyes from afar. Though she didn't speak, the signaling look the woman gave to the dragoness was enough to indicate what she wanted from her goddaughter. Mother, I will deal with those people, so don't worry. Dragoni makes a broad smile once she understood. Despite her own belly being quite huge already from the number of people she ate, the young lass in her beastral form didn't relent, and took to the sky by transforming into a brilliant mass of light. For the unexpected, those weaker cultivators were the first to go from the new batch of food that had just arrived on scene. And because of how fast Dragoni flew at, many didn't even have time to react before they were consumed like the rest. However, Bai Yan's confidence in her own goddaughter has grown complacent. Right after the second wave of consumption, the dragoness's complexion was starting to look unwell, and even turned a shade of green. Then it happened. As soon as the young girl went after the stronger newcomers, her tummy has grown so large and massive that it's borderline translucent on the outer belly skin. The silhouettes of the people she ate could be seen through this. Oh ouch. Groaning from the throbbing pain, Dragoni directly falls out of the sky and makes a loud smacking thud when impacting. Then, as if to emphasize her unwell state, the girl's shape also reverts back to her lowly self as she rolled around the floor while holding the stomach. Dragoni, shocked by the sudden change, Bai Yin couldn't care about her opponent anymore, and quickly made a dash the other way. She's greatly alarmed and was anxious to figure out the cause. What's wrong? Mother, my tummy, it hurts. tightly biting her pale lips. The lass's forehead was covered in cold sweat as she explained. Mountain 2. Bai Yan's face had wrinkled into a knot after seeing the terrible state of that belly. You ate too many people again. Take this medicine, it will help with your indigestion. That said, she immediately takes out a beady little pill and stuffs it into Dragoni's mouth. The effects were immediate. Though it couldn't completely dissolve the pain from her belly, the young lass did feel much more comfortable to the level where her complexion had stopped looking so pale. Hold on for now, Dragoni. I'll use other ways to help you digest your food after we leave this place. Standing up again with her goddaughter in arms, Bai Yan's sharp gaze swept across the many foes that has come to the scene. At this moment there are far more people than there were at the beginning of this battle. This includes several mid-level saint ranks as well. If it was just dealing with Wuxia, then Bai Yan had every confidence to come out on top of this big hulky guy. However, if it's added with so many unknown variables, then not even she could be so certain anymore. Everyone. Wuxia became elated at the vast number of helpers that came to his aid. These two humans are colluding with the demons. For our sake, and all of humanity, I implore everyone here to help me capture these two demons and prosecute the traitors. The man's words were damning because the look Bai Yan got from everyone were threateningly cold. In this border city, humanity and demonkin are like fire and water, polar opposites in their element. Once the feud becomes ignited, there's no turning back. Humph! To be so self-depreciating and evil as a human being is unforgivable. Today you will hand over those two demons, otherwise the crime on you shall be the same as them. That's right. Hand over the two demons, and your life shall be spared. There's a brewing anger in their eyes as if Bai Yan and her party committed some sort of heinous crime worthy of death. Talk about being conceited and self-righteous, that's what they are. Piggy was the most afraid among them, of course. Though this pink piglet with wings knew his master Emoli Shang wouldn't abandon him to the wolves, the intimidating air around so many foes still brought fear into his little heart. What's going on here? Suddenly, a cold voice breaks through the air and cuts over the noise. The crowds gathered here were able to recognize the owner of that voice with ease, because their faces didn't look good as soon as they saw who was coming. It's a handsome middle-aged man followed closely by a foxy woman of immense charm, who may only needed a glance to recognize who it was at the epicenter after she descended from the air. There's surprise and shock in her eyes, but more were contempt and ridicule for Bai Yan's supposed pompous arrogance. This woman really doesn't want to live. First it was pretending to be the demon queen, then now it's provoking the humans living here in the border city. Even fate is frowning on her. Hu Budwei. Wu Xiong's face got ugly when speaking up. Are you intending to intervene in this matter? If there's anyone in this border city the big bulky man fears, then it would be the members of the Fox clan. Unlike the other demon races, the royal family of the demon realm was also a fox, making Hu Budwei's status special in the eyes of these humans. What's more, this fox chief was also an elder in the palace prior to his banishment. That's a huge boon to his reputation. Mountain 3. Wuxiong, I said it before. While under my watch no human can harm us demons in this border city, otherwise. The fox chief says. Demons? The big hulky man snickers sarcastically at the remark. Do you not see those two demons over there are submitting themselves to the two humans? So they are what you call traitors. And again, the two humans are also traitors to humanity. Hu Budwei couldn't help but frown at the idea. If it was in the past, then he would surely reprimand the other side if that's the case. However, the post of being queen of the demon realm has now been taken over by a human woman. Even if he's unwilling, siding with the big hulky man in this case would be equivalent of insulting said queen. Father, Wu Xiong is right. These people are indeed traitors to us demons. Hu Mei suddenly chimes in with a cold voice when locking eyes with Bai Yan. This woman is the one I told you about from earlier today. She wanted me to connect her with the king through our connection, so she could seduce his majesty. But I refused, of course. Out of anger, she then attacked my maid even. Do you still want to save such a person? You're talking nonsense, my mother is the queen. Flushing red in the face due to how angry she was, Dragoni lashes out despite her own condition. It was clearly your maid who wanted to hit me. That's why my mother hit her back. Queen. The beating speed in the fox chief's heart began to pace incredibly fast for a brief moment. This dragon girl called this woman queen? But when did her highness have a daughter? His Majesty never mentioned it at all in the letters. Dragoni, hugging the young missy from behind to settle her trembling body down. Bai Yan's calm and aloof self then confronts Hu Budwei. Are you the chief of the Fox clan here in this border city? That's right, I am Hu Budwei. Hands behind his back, the handsome middle-aged fox man was doing well in giving off a majestic and superior air. Ignoring the flagrant dismissiveness, Bai Yan instead flips her hand out with a greenish object in hand. This jade token, do you recognize it? Hu Budwei frowned at this, of course. He couldn't quite pinpoint it, but he does find it vaguely familiar for some reason. Truth was, Deet Song had sent out the portrait of Bai Yan's identity token to everyone in the demon realm, including the Fox clan exiled to this border city. What's unfortunate, though, was this Fox chief's lack of forethought. When he received the picture back then, he only gave it a quick skim through, and left it as was. Never did this fox expect to encounter Bai Yan in his lifetime. Making matters worse, foxes are inherently bad with their memories, unless they deliberately went out of their way to remember something. It's no surprise that he forgot. Hume didn't miss her old man's reaction with those sharp glaring eyes. In her haste after seeing the badge in Bai Yan's hand, the fox demoness immediately hatched a devious plan in her mind. One for out of spite regarding her maid's injury, the second being Bai Yan's superior beauty. Impudent. This jade token is clearly mine. I dropped it by accident this morning. To think it was stolen by you. What sort of world has this become if a thief can so blatantly flaunt their ill-gotten gains out in the open? And before their real owner at that. Father can be so stupid at times. If I don't find some excuse to make him move, then he might really believe this woman's words. It's not like this person can be the real demon queen anyways. Making a face like he's enlightened somehow, the fox chief gives the fox pattern jade token a final stare before nodding his head. So it's my daughter's stuff, no wonder it looks so familiar. Finding it pointless at this stage to continue her attempt to show her identity, Bai Yan puts the thing away before making a sneer. I've heard of foxes being cunning and clever by nature, but it seems that's not true at all. To think the Fox clan would have such a stupid person in their mix. So that's why Di Xiao one is a sweet dumbaklutz. Not every member of the foxes are as clever and cunning as my own boy. Mountain 4. Lady, I don't care where or how you got your hands on this jade token, but the fact that you are scheming to seduce the king is enough to make you the enemy of the entire demon realm. Compared to Bai Yan, Hu Budwei was more willing to believe his own daughter's story. Even though there are cases where Humei's actions are puzzling and excessive, it's still his daughter that's being put on the table. As a father, he knows the girl best. A proud and strong personality wouldn't fall so low as to lie. Besides, how can this woman be the queen? Someone that can be the king's wife must be equally as strong. Otherwise, that man would never take another look. Dragoni, casting her warm gaze down to the little girl in her arms like a mother protecting a baby, Bai Yan asks, "Are you afraid?" The little missy shakes her head without hesitation. "Mother, I am not afraid." "Good, then make sure you hold on to me tightly later. I will take you all in charge out of here." With her other hand holding the bone quill, Bai Yan's expression grew sharp after turning back to the group of enemies before herself. "Shang, you take Piggy and follow closely behind me." The handsome teen obligingly nods from behind. He has no intention of being a leg weight in this situation. Pleased by her friend's firmness, Bai Yan only had one last thing to say to the Fox chief before making her final decision. Is the Fox clan going to watch from the side or help these people? "Lady, perhaps I can stay out of this if you return the jade token to my daughter. If not..." Hu Budwei didn't finish the last bit of his sentence, but the threat and seriousness in his voice said it all. That's all she needed to hear. Without another word, Bai Yan points her bone quill directly at the Fox chief, and causes a cloud of dust to blow into the air merely from the seeping aura of that weapon. It's her way of declaring war. Getting darker in his face, Hu Budwei coldly huffs a snort at the impudence directed at himself, taking a step back to make sure he's at a safe distance. Wu Xiong, these people and demons are indeed traitors like you said. If you need my help, then the Fox clan here in the city will be happy to join the fight against these traitors. The big hulky man promptly laughs aloud. I wouldn't have it any other way. These scums are pure filth to betray their own kind. But before the pompous man could finish his laughable speech of self-righteousness, Bai Yin had already begun to make her move. Sure, she may still be carrying a little girl in one of her arms, but that's not going to hinder her speed, because that bone quill was already right up against the big guy's chest, and about to pierce through after she disappeared from her spot. If not for the fact that they're all prepared ahead of time, this attack would have definitely been lethal instead of just a graze after Wu Xiong narrowly manages to dodge it. Boom! Hu Budwei also attacks after seeing the preemptive strike. His punches were like the wind itself, creating afterimages one after the other. No matter how fast and agile the woman's reflexes were, the opening she created by trying to make a lunging pierce at the big guy had left her unable to dodge. In the end, several hits landed and causes Bai Yin to stumble backwards. Mother! Dragoni screams out in great fright after seeing the injury. The little missy was completely riled up at this stage. Hair puffed and claws stretched. She's no different from a wild animal trying to intimidate the foe. Bai Yin knew if this continued, then her goddaughter would surely do something dangerous. In her haste, she quickly takes out a Dan pill and throws it into her mouth before launching into another attack at the fox chief this time. Bang! Two fists collided in the air, but instead of trying to force the blow to gain an advantage, the woman uses the delay and recoiling force from the other side to fling herself to Emo Lishang's side. Let's go, she says after getting hold of the teen's shoulder. Seeing how the other party's about to leave, Wu Xiong was the first to react. Quick, everyone stop them. Don't let those bastards escape. This woman's talent is too terrifying. If allowed to live, then she will inevitably become our end. Thankfully, Bai Yin was well prepared for the enemy to block her path. Pushing her package to a safe place with an energy-infused shove, Bai Yin raises her bone quill again to meet the attack head-on by making a swinging slash. Mountain 5. Blazing through that skin with her bone quill, Bai Yin easily picks off the weakest person that's closest to herself after several exchanges with them all. Now that an opening has been torn in this siege, there's no more reason to stall and stick around. Grabbing her friend by the shoulder for the second time, she instantly dashes off into the sky and flies away. Mother, I'm almost fully recovered now. I can help carry us all in my dragon form. The little missy's voice was still seething with anger after casting a glance behind themselves. Don't say any more. Bai Yin shuts the idea down with a stern face. Your body still has some problems that's not resolved yet. Don't worry, believe in me and we'll all be fine. Answering with a compliant hum. Dragoni no longer tries to resist being a package and buries her face into that arm. She's upset, but there's no way the missy's going to show that to her precious family. Yin Yen, this dragon of yours seemed to be very strong. Does she have any other skill? Emo Lishang asks from one side, his eyes fluttering with curiosity. I can only fly a bit faster than the average. All embarrassed at being the topic of discussion, Dragoni blushes in the cheek and looks all adorable despite her following terrifying words. I can also eat people, but other than eating, I can't do much else. Twitching in the eye for a second, the handsome teen nevertheless continues with a forced smile. Then what about combat? I can't, no one taught me how to fight. Hanging her head low, the dragoness seems apologetic like she's done something bad. Bai Yin didn't mind the two chatting away, while she did the heavy lifting of flying through the air. But just running like this won't help while the group of pursuers continued to chase them from behind. Scanning the terrain, her eyes soon fell upon a shadowy forest up ahead, which would be a perfect place to lose someone due to its dense greenery. Without a second delay, she bumps her speed up and directly disappears into the shrubbery, leaving Hu Budwei and the rest of the humans in the background staring idly at the forest. Lord Hu, are you not going to continue your chase? Wu Xiong asks with a puzzled face at the fox chief, narrowing his eyes at the man who dares to question him. Are you pretending to be stupid, or just that stupid? This part is already past the border between the two realms. If I go any further, then I'm entering the mountain range inside the demon realm. Haha. Wu Xiong promptly breaks out into a bellowing laugh. Hu Budwei, are you implying you are afraid of some demonic mountain range despite being a member of the Fox clan? That comment was very blunt and very awkward for the exiled Fox chief. It's not like he's afraid to step back into the demon realm, but being safer never hurts, especially when the cause of this whole thing didn't relate to himself at heart. But images must be kept up. Giving a snort, Hu Budwei rebukes with cynical words of his own. You think I would need to personally make a move? I am a member of the Fox clan. One word from me is enough to leave her with nothing but bones. Daughter, we're going home. Giving one final glance at the gloomy and spooky-looking mountain range, the Fox chief whisks his sleeve and turns away without looking back. Wu Xiong snarled before narrowing in his eyes. Bastard, you think I don't know the truth? If your position within the Fox clan was even remotely important, then you wouldn't be at this border city. You may be able to fool some, but you can't fool everyone. What are we going to do now? Another saint-rank cultivator asks from one end. All demons and demon beasts alike are inherently hateful of us humans. Now that those two are inside, it's only a matter of time before the local monsters get to them. As for that bastard Hu Budwei, humph, leave him be. No matter what, he's still a fox. The big man then inhales deeply like he's suppressing the annoyance he felt. Those people in the celestial realm is treating our lives like it's worthless. If we kill one of the Fox clan's member, then the demon realm will surely retaliate for touching those related to the royal family. We can't afford such a consequence. Truth was, there aren't a lack of powerful humans in this border city. There's even a couple of high-leveled saint ranks in closed-door training. Why they are willing to put up with the Fox clan taking house in their territory goes to show the level of worry they held for provoking the foxes. Mountain 6. Not far away from the main body of humans, Hu Budwei could see the others are keeping their distance from himself, and decides bring up his thought. Mayor, is what you said really true? That jade token is yours and she stole it? He asks with a tinge of worry in his voice. The fox demoness didn't give any hint of deceit from her end and answered promptly. Father, you know I'm not quipped to lie. That jade token really is mine. I carved it some time ago, and only wore it once. Maybe that's why you don't have any recollection? As for the part that she wanted to seduce the king, Hu Mei took a second to organize her story. That happened while you were in closed-door training. She thought we are close to the palace because we are foxes, and could connect her with the right people. Furthermore, did you see that weapon in her hands? Hu Budwei's eye flashed meaningful at that reminder. He's not blind. He could tell Bai Yen was only a lower-leveled saint rank. However, through the support of that frosty bone quill, she's able to stay on top of so many stronger cultivators. It's not hard to image how valuable that weapon was if it's used by another. She promised me. The fox demoness bites her lip like she's aggravated by her own decision. If I help her, then she will give me that bone quill. I naturally refused her, of course. I've always been a free-minded soul, so how can I betray the king for the mere sake of a divine weapon? That finally relieved the fox chief, making a long sigh. That's good to hear. I was really afraid this woman would be the real demon queen herself. What do you mean by that, father? Nothing to worry about, my dear. It just so happens that I've learned of the queen visiting the border city, and will be here any day now. I've never met her highness before, so I can't be certain of her face or identity. It's good that your story is true. Now we have nothing to worry about. While the fox chief was smiling on the face, the daughter on the other hand wasn't so calm in the heart anymore. She's shuddering from shock, and nearly fell over backwards. It can't be. That woman really is the queen. No, it can't be. Even if she is the queen, why would she come to this border city? There's no way she can prove herself. What's more, a human entering the demonic mountain range will only die at the end. She will never come back, never. You need to stop worrying all the time, father. Maybe the queen herself is still on the road, and won't be some time before she arrives. There are so many shameless women in this world. I'm sure this one is only an imposter. Do you really believe an outsider over your own daughter? I of course believe in you, my dear. The fox chief breaks out into a happy smile. You are much smarter than your older sister, so I'm very confident you won't make the same mistake she did in the past. Perhaps it's the parental bond, or just this family of foxes are just that dumb. But Hu Budway didn't take notice of that split second of worry in the girl's face when he said that. Inside the spooky and dark forest, Bai Yan had just landed on the ground and stopped running when she confirmed there are no more pursuers in the back. Dragoni, how are you feeling now? It's much better than before, but my tummy still feels uncomfortable. Hanging her head, the little missy sounds uneasy. Mother, am I useless? If it was brother here, he will certainly be able to help mother solve the problem. Smiling at how sensible her goddaughter was being, Bai Yan could only smile and nothing else. You silly, he's already 7 this year. Compared with you who only had your mind open last year, you are already doing extraordinarily well. Wait some more. You will definitely be able to help me like he does, okay? Mountain 7. Really? Little Dragoni's eyes lit up into a bright smile. I will work hard, although I cannot compare with brother, but I also want to protect mother. Now don't talk. I'll help you digest the forces in your body. Okay. Bai Yan's method were direct and thorough. By pumping a string of silky energy into the missy's back, her senses could then manipulate and guide the insides of the missy's organs and content. Sure enough, Dragoni's closed eyelids began to flutter as soon as she's closed them, because the stuffed belly no longer felt so uncomfortable. In fact, it's soothing as the human's inside swiftly changed into consumable energy, flowing all over her veins and bones, and reinforcing them in the meantime. Time slowly elapsed in this state. Due to the missy's immature body and lack of experience, the amount of energy produced by the two females' effort had exceeded what the last could handle. In the end, it was Bai Yan who had to take in a portion of the excess energy into her own body for processing. Boom! That's the sound of success. Not only did the little dragoness's cultivation skyrocket into the saint rank through this experience, she also directly broke through from the lower level to the middle level, and even into the higher level in one go. Yes, this was a total cheat and blasphemous way of improving one's strength, but it's her way and it works. Of course, anything good always comes with a con. If there wasn't a supporting aid on the side, the number of people she consumed would have eventually killed her, due to the chaotic energy brewing from within. She's fortunate and got lucky in this case. By this point Emily Shang was going crazy already, and clawed at his own hair. He's been watching the pair doing their own thing for a good part of this month. And what do they do at the end? Go on a leveling spree, while he could only gulp day after day at their incredible improvements. Hey, you can't do that to innocent people like me. When did saint ranks become so easy to reach? It's not cabbage you can pop out of the ground in a few days. This is wrong. This is cheating. I want compensation for my injured heart. Mother, I broke through. Pouncing right into her mother's arm in excitement, Dragoni's smile was showing her pearly white front teeth. Next time when we meet those bad people I can help you kill them. Unlike her usual kind and innocent demeanor, her words this time around when saying the kill word definitely carried a fierce tone in there. It's getting there, threatening and convincing, but not hair-raising enough yet. Perhaps in a few more years, and she would have the same effect as the adults. Warmed by the girl's promise, Bai Yan caringly fixes up her goddaughter's hair, before getting up herself. Are we back in the demon realm? Losing her angry air, Dragonis throws this question out without any intended recipient. I can pick up a lot of demon auras in the area. We should be back in the demon realm. Since we're back in our own territory, then it's fine. I wonder where we are exactly though. Letting go of the missy in her arms. Come, let's go and search around for some clues. Okay. Answering with an obedient tone, Dragoni happily runs ahead to scan the terrain. Meanwhile in the back, Emoli Shang was pursing his lips in a dispirited manner. I'm sorry, Yin Yen. The woman ahead stopped and casts a look backwards at the teen. It was I who dragged you down. All apologetic in the eyes. If it wasn't for me, Dragoni wouldn't have. You shouldn't blame yourself. Making a reassuring smile of her own. Bai Yin doesn't have the same opinion. This is what you call a blessing in disguise. If there weren't so many saint ranks around, do you think my goddaughter would be able to make a breakthrough? Also, do you think I too would be able to benefit from the extra energy and be at the threshold of leveling up as well? Once we leave this place, it's those people who will need to run from us. Mountain, 8. In that split second when Bai Yin smiled at him, Emoli Shang could swear to the heavens that he's never seen something so beautiful in his life. He's finding it difficult to turn away, and was blinded by this image. What's the matter? She asks with a furrowed forehead after seeing the dazed look from the teen, scratching his head in a shy manner. Yin Yen, you look so good, better than any woman I have ever seen. Finding the comment funny, she responds with another question. But don't you have amnesia? Since your memories aren't working then, how can you remember the women you met before? Giggling a bit at that logic, Emoli Shang didn't care, and got all sweet in his words. Even if I have amnesia, I still think Yin Yen is the most beautiful woman in this world. No one can compare. The winged piglet, that's been watching this whole thing in the teen's arm, could only look at his owner in contempt like he's some sort of despicable flirt. Then from out of the blue, Piggy starts sniffing the air like he's picked up something. What's wrong with him? Bai Yin asks after noticing the little guy jumping down from Emoli Shang's grasp. Answering her question was the pig making some oinking sound, and then pointing his trotter at somewhere in front. Yin Yen, Piggy is saying he smells the scent of his kin. The place up ahead should be where his clansman is located. The teen explains after carefully listening to his friend. That was unexpected. Making a startled face, Bai Yin eventually makes a suggestion after musing over the idea. Then we should go check out the place. Perhaps we can even find Piggy's family, and get some clues as to what he really is. Not going to object to the idea, Emoli Shang immediately picks up his little friend to leave. Thank you, Yin Yen. Together, the four of them began their journey in search of Piggy's family. Though it's not something Bai Yin had planned ahead, but it never hurts in this case to help a friend. Demon Realm. Inside the majestic and mighty-looking halls of this grand palace, Deet Song was currently eyeing his subjects with a bored expression while leaning that face against his own palm. Did you pass on the letter I made to that Hu Budway? Fire Plume was the one in charge of that mission, so he had a duty to make the report despite there being others who went on his stead. Sire, I have personally tasked my most trusted subordinate to the task. They already handed the package to that person, so you can be at ease. If Her Highness does visit the border city, there won't be any danger. Note: Fire Plume is the fire bird that went with Deet Song into the human world the first time around. But did you give her facial portrait to Hu Budway? Freezing in the face, a bead of sweat came trickling down Fire Plume's cheek. Portrait? Is he talking about the Queen's portrait? This, hurrying to clear the evidence of his unease from the face by wiping himself. Sire, the humans also have a mean to mask and change their appearance. Having a portrait doesn't mean much. In the case of Hu Budway, he will surely be deceived considering his intelligence, if someone's really out to trick him. Deet Song's gloomy gaze now locks onto the birdman's body, as if he's demanding an explanation of what he's implying. So, completely wet behind his back now, having the portrait of the jade token is enough. That item is infused with Sire's own personal signature. No one can impersonate that feature. Furthermore, every clan's chief should have a picture of the jade token by now, including Hu Budway at the border city. This time nothing will go wrong. If I do make another mistake, then His Majesty definitely won't give me another chance that I can't afford. No longer diving for more, Deet Song instead turns the topic to another matter. You can go down now. Also, go inform the various chiefs to come see me. Those inside the secret domain should be returning soon. Once they do, It will be our force's true collision with those bastards from the celestial realm. Wing Clan's Elder 1. Yes, my king. Relieved at being let off the hook, Fire Plume was right about to walk out the doorway when Deetsong's gloomy-sounding voice cuts him off mid-step. Hold it. Sire, is there anything else you wish of me? He meekly turns around and asks. I'm still not satisfied with my wife's safety. Go mobilize the demons living near that border, and tell them to act as her bodyguard. As you wish, my king. Arching his fist, Fire Plume retreats with haste only to find himself nearly peeing his pants once outside. Meanwhile, at the same time over in the demonic mountain range, Piggy was currently shuddering through the forested terrain with incredible speed despite having such a fat body. This aggravated the teen that's been constantly trying to keep up. He's panting and starting to get tired from all the running. Damn, why is Piggy able to run so fast? Where does he find such energy? And how does his little trotters move so quickly? While the two males were running their heads off, the two girls in the back were rather frank in their speed. Rather than to say they're running, it's more suitable to say they're having a nice afternoon stroll through the park right now and how relaxed they were behaving. Piggy, have you found where your family is yet? The teen tightly knits his temple as he yelled out the question for the little guy. Oink, oink, giving that as his reply. The winged piglet didn't look back anymore, and made an even faster dash for whatever's in front. Sure enough, the little guy's efforts paid off when he saw the settlement up ahead. Giving another oinking cry of joy, Piggy literally starts pouncing up and down as he made his way over. There's good reason for the little guy's powerful reaction. Over the years, he and his owner Emily Shang has been wandering around without a clear goal in mind. Therefore, the idea and notion of having relatives never even crossed his mind. And now there's an opportunity to reunite with his own kin? Who wouldn't be excited? But things don't always go as planned, nor does it pan out with a good ending. Right as Piggy's rushing for the settlement where his clansmen should be, two beams of light had shot down from the sky. Next thing he knew were two silvery pointed objects mounted against his neck in a threatening manner. Who is it? Who dares to break into the Wing Clan's territory? Whatever excitement Piggy felt earlier has completely evaporated. Talk about being scared out of his wits. Not far away, Emily Shang was still running over after losing sight of the little troublemaker when a loud squealing cry for help rocked his ears. Without a second delay, the teen didn't think and simply ran forward because he knew something bad must have happened. Bai Yin as well. When she picked up that horrible pig squeal, her face grew dark and immediately picked up Dragoni, so she could move at her fastest speed. In a flash, they too were gone from the spot. Yeah. Having all four of his trotters tied together, the two guards who threatened him with the weapons were harsh and unkindly in their act. Let him go. Bai Yin was the first to arrive on scene, and it brought the tears to a halt on Piggy's face. In fact, it gave the little guy courage to stare back viciously at his captors. Impudent. The guard from the Wing Clan snaps back with an emotionless face. You think just anyone can come and go as they please in the land of the Wing Clan? Put your hands up and surrender now. If you do, then we will spare your life. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.